Can you please look up this site?
See if we can figure out something. All right, let's roll, nerds. Hi.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Super fast off docket issue, if that's allowed this early. Case number is 246. Oh, sorry, Judge. I thought you were ready. I'm sorry.
246.
5170. It's Mr. George Peters. He was on PTI for a DWI and a UCW. I'm asking that his firearm be returned. I have what he got from Academy when he bought the firearm, and then I also have a copy of his PTI packet if you want to skim and see.
No, I'm more concerned about is the actual gun his that he brought.
It is, Judge. He can't find like a cash register receipt from Academy, but they do give these safety forms out. It's signed by a store employee at Academy and has a serial number for the firearm on it.
Well,
He said he's on.
Judge, I had no objection because the form that she provided had the same serial number and given gun description that we have in our
okay, make your shell grant free.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you.
I will.
Good morning.
I have a plea ready for you on Tompkins. THOMPK.
Is this one of the trial cases?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. I promise.
Yeah.
All right, you are Justin Tompkins.
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins, you're charged with deadly conduct. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. What have you guys worked out?
Judge.
Are you on probation or parole right now?
No.
You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. So what, was it a weapon? What was it? Well,
No, it was a street takeover, Judge. So he was driving a car, there was donuts and people there, so I charged him with deadly conduct.
okay. Did they confiscate the car from you, Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
They did. Did you get it back?
No.
That sucks. What did we learn?
Not to be involved in.
It sucks. I mean, I haven't seen it much, but I've seen it done before. And, you know, I try to advise everybody that comes here, you know, don't pick these cases up because they can take that car from you. What kind of car was it? A truck?
Charger. Dodge Charger.
A nice Charger?
Dodge.
We're still trying to get it back, Judge. But there's been a default judgment in there, but I'm working on.
You don't know. You suffered big on this one. Just be careful, man. Okay? So the offer is, what we doing? 3 days in jail, credit for the 2 days that you've done. This will reflect as a record, as a conviction on your record. From now on, you'll be facing a minimum of 90 days. you know, Mr. Tompkins, I hope that you really have learned and that at some point you're gonna get another car. You get pulled over with your record, they're gonna immediately search you. They're gonna immediately just harass the hell out of you. Don't give them a reason to put you in jail. Don't give them a reason to arrest you. It's not hard. You understand? You give up the right to a trial, right to compel witnesses testify on your behalf, confront and cross-examine accusers, right to be arraigned.
Yes, sir.
Charge rights in open court. If you're not a citizen, there are possible immigration consequences. You can be deported, excluded from the country, denied naturalization. You give up the right to appeal. So once you accept this agreement, you can never change this or undo this. Is this what you want to do?
Yes.
Have you plead for the offense of deadly conduct?
Yes.
I will find you guilty, send you to the agreement. Good luck to you, sir.
Hey, Judge. Will.
Judge, can we start arraignment?
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Right,
who's first? Me.
Page 5, Calhoun,
Do you have an arraignment?
page,
Just give me a second, let me try to, because we have a
page
jury. Come on.
12, Green, the co-defendants.
So this is Calhoun and Green.
Yes.
Sorry, keep your hands out.
All right, so who's Latrell Calhoun? You are Dewan Green. Both of you guys are charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. Put your hands down by yourself. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you guys.
Judge, on July 9th, 2024, officers conducted a traffic stop on a car for an unlit license plate. Officers observed an odor of marijuana. The defendant was in the passenger seat. A Smith & Wesson was located under the passenger seat. The defendant was ID'd by his Texas driver's license and is a confirmed member of the Stain Gang. And the defendant had 0.14 ounces of marijuana in his pocket. And Judge, this is for Mr. Calhoun.
So everything we're talking about is on Mr. Calhoun.
Correct.
Okay, so what about Mr. Green?
I believe Mr. Green was the passenger of the same vehicle that was stopped for the unlit license plate.
Does he have a gun as well?
Judge, no, it's a mistake. So the Green was the driver, he was the passenger. They both had guns. He had a Glock under his leg. He had a Smith & Wesson under the passenger seat.
Okay, are both alleged to have been in gang?
It's just Calhoun is alleged to be in a gang with Mr. Green. When the defendant stepped out, officers observed black Glock on the floorboard. PC search turned out 1 pink plastic bag and 3.39 grams of marijuana
Okay,
on the drive.
gentlemen, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward on each of your cases. Mr. Calhoun, how old are you?
I'm 20.
What do you do for a living?
Right now I just make music. School. I go to night school to get my GED. That's it. I'm getting a job too, but it's
All supposed to, gonna happen, this, that, and yet here you are, 20, on your third case. Life's not going well for you now. Now I'm gonna be on top of you so much, you're gonna think that it's a career. No more dope, no more alcohol, no more guns, and you're gonna get your GED.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make sure that all that happens. Otherwise, guess what's gonna happen to you? Right. You'll be getting your GED behind some bars. Mr. Green,
Yes, sir.
how old are you?
21.
What do you do in life?
Right now, I'm really trying to find out an entrepreneur way for myself. So it's kind of studying a lot, learning a lot of stuff. Most of the time, collecting information. But then on my free time, I do like to make videos.
Did you graduate from high school? What are your plans now?
Trying to take that as far as I can. I want to start clothing.
Okay, it's not working for you. You must get a full-time job, and I am making that now a bond condition of yours. If you fail to do that, guess what's gonna happen? No more dope, no more alcohol, and I'm telling you, each of you will get tested for weed 31 days from today. If each of you test positive for dope, you're gonna go to one place and I'm gonna make your bond so high, you're gonna flip. You are guaranteed going to get a drug test in 31 days. If you don't smoke after today, you'll be fine with me. You smoke, and I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you tell me that you're in a car and they're hot boxing, whatnot. I don't care. you test positive for dope, I'm gonna put you in jail. I'm gonna bring you back in 2 weeks, Mr. Green. I wanna see what you've done to get a job. If you've done nothing, life's not gonna go well for you. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna appoint each of you guys lawyers today. I will have you talk to the lawyers. And then after that, you'll be back in 2 weeks to show me what you've done. Understand?
Yes, sir.
You pick up a new case, either of you, while you're on bond, I will absolutely lose it, and I'm gonna be so upset, I will grow horns in a tail. And if that happens, you're gonna be on the losing end of it. So be careful when you're out on my streets, because I want my streets to be safe. And if that means locking you up at $100,000 bond, I'll do it in a heartbeat. Stephen, you wanna show them the way?
Sure, gentlemen, go that way for me.
I did have a case.
Chip, go that way for me.
Right this way. Green.
You both need an application.
Calhoun, back this way.
Yeah, I think so.
Judge, just to be sure, they're both pretrial bond conditions.
So all of them, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Must get full-time jobs. Testing 31 days from today, and they're gonna be back here in 2 weeks to see what we've done. to Calhoun, GED, right?
All right, Judge. Next is page 10, Galindo, come on up.
This way. Right over here. Take your hands out of your pockets, keep them down by your side. Yes, sir, no, sir.
Javier Galindo.
Yes, sir.
Galindo, you're charged with terroristic threat of family or household member. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. You can report on one will be appointed.
Judge, on July 8th, 2024, officers were dispatched to a welfare check / urgent citizen call at a residential home. Upon arrival, they spoke with the complaining witness and a witness. The defendant is the complaining witness' nephew, and they've lived together for the last 4 months. The complaining witness advised that when they got into a verbal argument, the defendant would threaten him. On July 8th, 2024 at 3 p.m., the defendant walked up to the complaining witness and said, "I got new bullets for my gun. I'm going to kill you and your son." The complaining witness felt fear for his life and left the residence immediately and called across the street where he met the rest of his family, including the witness. The witness said she saw the defendant holding a black handgun at his waist, pointed it towards the ground, and yelled threats from behind the home. The witness further stated that the gun is the same that one that he fired on July 4th. The defendant denied having a firearm.
Was there another person involved in this as well? Because I see 2 protective orders that were issued on 2 different people.
Yeah, Judge, we have a complaining witness and a witness. The complaining witness has lived with the defendant for the last 4 months.
We just have one list of complaints, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the protective order was issued for both the complaining witness and the witness, so that's why there's 2.
Mr. Galindo, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. A protective order was issued in this case. I suggest you get to know it, because if you violate the court order, the state can and will file a violation of a protective order against you. And I'm telling you, that's one of the worst cases you can pick up. We can hold you at no bond. You violate those conditions. 0 bond, and I will do it in a heartbeat to protect every single person in Harris County. Do you understand, sir? No dope, no alcohol, no weapons, and no contact with this person. What do you do for a living?
I work at the boats, but
You work at where?
I work at the boats. I drive a man lift. But I have.
I don't want to talk about the
Okay,
case. I just want to know what you do for a living and what kind of money you make.
Well, I've been trying to get my trade card, but it's hard for me right now. It's hard for me right now. I
You're
can't
still
get it.
working, right?
No, I'm trying to.
So you don't have a job.
No, sir. No, sir. But I'm trying my best. I got a job. I shovel. I do fencing, but that's just part times.
You
Monday.
need a full-time job, something to occupy your time.
Yes, I know.
Much time on your hands, and now it's becoming self-destructive. You're killing yourself over and over and over. Get a job.
No,
I will give you a lawyer. Same thing's gonna apply to you. I'm gonna bring you back in 2 weeks and I wanna see what you've done to get a job. None of this home health care baloney. A real job. Do you understand? You come back to me, you haven't done anything in 2 weeks, life's not gonna go well for you. Do you understand?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I already have an application on file. We can reach out to the MAC. I'm gonna have him monitored with Tracy, so no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no contact. All right, Mr. Galindo, I'm gonna have you go sign a receipt, and I'm gonna have you take a seat in the jury box, please.
Hi. Better late than never, right? I obviously had to pull everything apart so that I could vacuum in every single little area that existed because there was glass everywhere. And so basically what happened was I decided I wanted to hang wallpaper in my office. So I brought a bar stool in because I can't reach the ceilings. They're very high. So I climbed on the bar stool and I was like gonna go like that to like pull it up. And as I did that, I whacked my head super hard on a shelf that you guys can't see. It's basically there. And on that shelf was a glass with flowers in. Thankfully, no water. So that fell onto my desk, but it happened to fall exactly on another glass, which was like a double, I don't know. It's like a double glass. It's like a hot and cold. Oh, where are you going, Franks? So it's 2 layers of glass. And so that shattered and went everywhere. In it falling, this like wooden vase thing I had with flowers in also fell. And so it took my glass that had Coke in with it, but that glass didn't break. It just knocked over. And at that point, I had moved all of the rubbish that I've been putting off sorting out to under my desk and next to my desk. So basically, I'd moved everything into the path of the glass. And I had to vacuum in every little part of those things. So I unplugged all my stuff and then plugged it back in. But for whatever reason, StreamYard just would not use my USB mic. It wanted to use the webcam mic, which has happened before. And it was like, it hurts your ears to hear that kind of tinny sound. Anyway, we're here. It's only 1:15, not too bad. We got the first 20 minutes of YouTube slowly letting people know out of the way. There's a piece of glass on my thumb. Just letting Candace know. She's going to be in chat, the local lawyer. She's going to be in chat because she's also working. And then we can try work out like a on-camera thing another time. Let me go back to the start. Hi, Bug. Hi, Steve. Hi, Chini. Hi, Lisa. Lisa, I hope you've had a better week of sleep so far. Hi, Lilith. Yeah, I was trying to get the damn mic right because I would rather do a live on my phone with no microphone, or like I would rather mime the whole time than have the webcam mic. Thank you. It's very much like cozy ballerina. Hey, Don. Okay, so for Oscar, move myself to the side. I restarted yesterday's last one because we were only like 15 minutes in. And because this is a kind of bigger one, I wanted to start at the beginning so that the people who moved over to the ballerina stream, they can still know what's going on. So I think today, Darren Fresco is expected to face grueling cross-examination. I think that happened. Wait a minute. Sorry, let's just double check. Let's just double check. Because we already had him on cross-examination. Anyway, let's see.
Yes, my lady. Thank you, my lady. My ladies, we omitted yesterday to put before you the exhibit U. So may I do that? You will see some of the articles there, markings like a highlighting. It's not that we did that. That's what it was like in the original. It had some yellow highlight markers on. So when you will see that.
It's just exhibit U. It's only got
It's
one
you.
choice.
The article that we handed to Professor Simon was V. So that was just before that. We just omitted to hand it to you yesterday. It was available, but somehow.
Let me just make sure I understand. There are two that have been given to me. One is gastric emptying. Is 4 hours necessary? Is that you?
Those are all the articles that we received from Professor Simon. And just because we referred to it, we marked it as an exhibit at the time. I just failed to hand it up.
It's marked exhibit U.
Exhibit U.
But there's another one.
We marked all of them exhibit U, my lady.
Oh, thank you.
Because a pack or a bundle.
Thank you.
If that would satisfy.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I have no further questions. I do not have further questions for this witness.
Thank you very much.
Right, this is good, lady.
Mr. Fresco, I'm going to deal with 6 things. Firstly, let us deal with the trip to the Vaal. What was the occasion at the Vaal?
It was no occasion. We were just going up to the river for the day, my lady.
We joined by other friends?
There were other friends at the Vaal already, my lady.
Now, accused with his gun. What did he do with his gun at the Vaal?
I do not know where he had possession of his gun at the Vaal. I did not see that.
Driving in the car. Where did the accused have his gun?
Between his legs, my lady.
Accused had his gun between his legs while you're driving from the Vaal on a highway.
Yes, my lady.
Okay. And was the gun in a holster?
It was between his legs at the time, my lady. No holster.
No holster. I see. Then there was an interesting thing about the speed you were doing. That he knew you were doing a speed of 260. But whatever speed you did the accused tell you to slow down?
No, my lady, he didn't.
Did he complain about the speed you were doing?
No, he did not, my lady.
Did anybody take photographs in that car of the speedometer or something?
I had taken a picture of the speedometer, my lady, while he had been driving on the way down to the Vaal.
Okay, let's get to it. So on the way to the Vaal, the accused was in fact the driver?
On the way to the Vaal, he was, my lady.
Okay, why did you take a photograph of the speedometer?
He was traveling very fast, my lady.
What speed was the accused traveling?
Well, it was over the 200 km/h mark, my lady.
And you took the photograph?
I did, my lady.
Okay. Now let's get to the crumpled ticket. When you received the ticket and you crumpled the ticket, what did you do with it?
I'd thrown it on the side by the passenger floor, my lady.
What did the accused do? Did he pick it up?
I don't know what he had done with it.
Did he say anything about you crumpling a ticket?
No, said nothing about it, my lady.
Good. Did the accused say anything about the speeding ticket that you got?
No, said nothing about that, my lady.
Offered to pay it?
No, he did not, my lady.
Second issue, remember Mr. Fresco said there were 6. Second issue, pointing out the scene. Now, before you pointed out the scene to Captain van Aert, did you know whereabouts it was?
No, because I said it was
along that road. That's why I please asked him to drive me up and down numerous occasions.
In your statement that was handed in, Exhibit W, my lady, you in fact identified the areas quite a while later near the Modderfontein area. Oscar fired a shot from his firearm out of the sunroof.
Correct, my lady.
Why did you identify it as Modderfontein area?
Because it's the way, it's just, I know, I haven't been along the road many times, but I remember there is an eco reserve I'd been to, I had been to at a wedding there quite a while ago. And like I said, I had been there, but I didn't know specifically where it was until we had driven up and down a few times, my lady.
Good. Number 3. Since the shooting incident on the 14th of February, have you had any contact with Samantha Taylor?
I have not seen her at all until in the witness room 2 days ago, my lady.
Did you have any contact with her since the incident?
I have not seen her or spoken to her after, my lady.
Or sent messages by anywhere?
No, we had chatted while they were dating, but nothing thereafter, after they had broken up.
Good. Then number 4, we're dealing with your statement. If I would ask you, what do you do for a living? What would you say?
I'm a network engineer, my lady, an IT network engineer.
Would you ever, out of your own accord, say, I am gainfully employed as a network engineer?
No, I'm a network engineer. I work for a company, my lady.
But your statement indicated you're gainfully employed as a network engineer. Whose words are those?
Can you explain to me, my apologies, for gainfully employed?
No. When you made the statement to your attorney and advocate, am I right?
Correct, my lady.
Did they ask you what you did?
Yes, and I said I'm a network engineer, an IT network engineer.
Did you tell them I am gainfully employed?
I've never used that word gainfully employed in my life, my lady.
I see. Now, in making a statement, did you tell your advocate and attorney what happened?
I had told them what had happened, yes, my lady.
And they drafted the statement?
They did, my lady.
Whilst you were sitting there or later?
While I had been sitting there, my lady.
I see. And you were happy with the content?
I was, my lady.
Did you explain to them how you handed over the gun in the restaurant?
I had explained to them where each party was sitting. And then I passed him the weapon under the table, my lady.
The accused, number 5, issue number 5. Mr. Fresco, I'm going to ask you questions, but you can take it that the accused, in fact, admitted in this court that he was in possession of the gun when the shot was fired in a restaurant. Okay. Now, after the shot was fired, was he upset with you?
Not at all, my lady. He was more shocked than anything else. At no time ever was he upset or did he say anything towards me of him being cross with me or upset with me.
But the interesting thing, why did you pass your gun to the accused?
He had asked me to see it, and me thinking he was a competent firearm owner and carrier, I'd handed it over to him, my lady.
So could you hear him ask you for the gun?
Yes, he had asked me for the gun.
And he asked you for the gun, and he was able to meet you halfway.
Correct, my lady.
So at least you heard him.
Absolutely, I heard him. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a reason for me to pass my firearm for no reason across under the table, my lady.
Did the accused offer to pay for damages?
I did not hear that at all, my lady.
If you heard it, would you have remembered it?
I most definitely would have, my lady. Seeing that shortly thereafter, the owner and myself, I had offered to compensate for any damages that had occurred in his restaurant.
Mr. Fresco, did the gun fall out of your pocket and the shot went off?
Absolutely not, my lady.
Did you say that to Mr. Dukas?
I did, my lady.
Why did you do that?
To take the blame for what the accused had been charged for.
Why did you take the blame?
A friend had asked me, and that's what I had done.
Who's this friend?
The accused, Mr. Pistorius.
Lady, I've included number 6. I lost count. I have nothing further.
And a new issue was raised.
Yes.
May I deal with that on the speed? Mr. Fresco, 2 things. The one is, I don't have words to describe it because I'm going to show you a photo and we're later going to prove the time of the photo you took to show to the court what you were doing in re-examination. That's the first thing, because we have the time and it will be on computer and we will call the witness. That's the first one. The second one is,
Lady, if it's the same photo we're dealing with, if it's the same photo we're dealing with, I have no objection, but we have to establish that.
Well, this court has no knowledge of any photo yet.
Indeed, lady,
So
what is put to him. We're going to show you the time of the photo. If it's established that it's the photo that this witness took, then I.
Well, it's something you will deal with after Mr. Rue has finished.
That's a good business.
Yes.
thank you, Lady. Mr. Fresco, your evidence was clear. You took a photo, your camera, on the way to the vault. You remember it off the speed.
It was over the 200 kilometers an hour mark,
Yes.
my lady, yes.
I'm talking about the time on the way to the vault. That's when you took the photo.
I agree,
When
my
the
lady.
accused was driving, not when you were driving.
Correct, my lady.
There was no photo taking session, according to you, when you were driving.
Not that I know of as I was driving the vehicle, my lady.
Now, the first point is this, because I won't number them 1 and 2, but let me ask you this. You said that you saw the witness Taylor in the witness room. When was that?
2 days ago on Monday, my lady.
So you were here on Monday and you sat with Ms. Taylor in the witness room.
I did, along with a lady from the NPS, as well as some legal team that she had with her at the time.
Was it Mr. Levitt?
I do not know his name. I've never seen him before. I've never
Could you
spoken to him.
describe him?
Stockish gentleman, darkish hair.
Now, let me show you the photo. This is on your camera sent to the accused on your telephone. And lady, we will at the appropriate time with the proper right screen show it in the time, but it's on that photo. It's taken at, and I put it to you, it will be proved. It's taken at 1640. It's 260 kilometers an hour. And two things. One, the accused did not drive the car there, but not important. B, you were driving the car back. You took the photo. It comes from your telephone sent to the accused, and it was at 1640 when the photo was taken. So what I put to you, you engineered false evidence this morning in cross-examination. What do you say about that?
I did not create any false.
Hold on. It's
1640, 22.5.
Not 41.
I just have the photo with me. Unfortunately, that I can get the exact time. The court would bear with me, but I just unfortunately handed all the copies. It's maybe 1641, my lady. If that's the time, I'm sorry, I could remember 1641 to be accurate. My lady, I apologize. It is in fact 1641. Anything that you want to say, Mr. Fresco?
No.
I see there's silence.
If you've got the photo that I've sent in, then it must have been me driving at the time.
Why?
I do not remember this.
Now, it's more than that. It's you coming back after giving evidence the previous night and come with evidence under oath. A, incorrectly shown who was driving the vehicle to the vault, and B, engineering evidence that it was in the morning.
Well, lady, I object. How can Mr. Rue put to this witness that he engineered evidence about who was driving to the vault? He gave evidence who was driving to the vault. There's nothing to gainsay that yet. So it can't be put that you're engineering evidence of who was driving to the vault.
Yes, Mr.
With the driver of the vehicle.
Lady, we have the evidence of Samantha Taylor, but there will be evidence, but it's significant. I'll leave it there. It's significant that the second part was not objected to. So I'll remain with the second part. But I still put it to you. That on the first part, it's true what Mr. Nell is saying. I can't put that to you. So I withdraw that. I'm talking about the second part. That's where you engineer the evidence. I'm sorry, let me put it to you.
You have to spell out the second.
It's the second part, the taking of the photo when the accused was driving to the vault according to evidence. It's 1641. It could only have been you. Do you agree?
I agree, as I was driving the vehicle home from the Vaal River.
And we know from your evidence that a photo was taken of the speed, and there's only one photo. That's what I asked you in the beginning.
Of this single photo, as I had said, I did not remember at all this photo. When you had asked me earlier of the speed, I said I do not remember yesterday. Again, I do not remember taking this photo.
So, Mr. Fresco, I withdraw the question about driving to the Vaal. I'm simply dealing with the photo. You understand it?
I do, my lady.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I'm sorry, I have not asked for the photo to be marked as an exhibit. It would be X, my lady. The last one I think was W.
Yes.
Must be X. Thank you, my lady.
Mr. Fresco, thank you very much for your assistance.
Thank you, my lady.
You may be excused.
As it pleases, my lady, we call Colonel Vermeulen. This witness is number 60, my lady, on the list of witnesses. Lady, if it pleases the court, the witness on his way. I will, in the meantime, if it pleases the court, hand out exhibits. I'll hand it informally through the witness. Perhaps if we have time, the court can just accept the photo album and statement I'll be handing in. Will that be in order, madam?
Yes, these are exhibits which are already in possession of the defense.
Indeed.
Thank you.
May I request that it be marked as exhibit Y?
Thank you.
My lady, what was handed in consists in fact of two separate documents. First document is a photo album, it's photo album 7, and then follows a statement, which is a report by this particular witness that he will use in his evidence.
Yes.
So if I could, a 13-page statement, if I could request that the photo albums, as we've handed it up, is Y, and the statement Y1.
Y1 is the photo album.
Indeed, my lady.
Y, no, you said Y is the photo album.
Yes.
And Y1 is the statement.
Indeed.
Thank you. The witness may be sworn in.
Meneer, wat is die volle naam van?
Johannes Gerardus Vermeulen.
Het u enige beswaar om die afgeschreven eet af te leggen?
Ik wil graag bevestigd de verklaring.
Beschouw je dat als bindend op je geweten?
Yes.
Als het geval is 4 uur dat weer getekend is wat je gaan leveren, die waarheid gaan wees, de hele waarheid, niks anders dan die waarheid niet, steek je rechterhand op en zeg je help niet voor.
My lady, I wish to make an affirmed statement, not a sworn statement.
As he says, affirmed, my lady.
That's good. Please. So you're a colonel in the South African Police Service attached at the scientific analysis section of the Forensic Science Laboratory. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
You have prepared a report and you confirm that you've prepared that report that you have with you?
That's correct, my lady.
My lady, we've handed in the report, and in paragraph 1 we have to start with a correction. In fact, I'm in fact glad to make this correction. In paragraph 1, it's indicated that you're a lieutenant colonel, but you've been promoted in the meanwhile.
That's correct, my lady.
To a full colonel.
That's correct, my lady.
So what should happen to Lieutenant Colonel?
Lieutenant colonel, the rank in paragraph 1, the word lieutenant should just be scrapped.
It should be just be Colonel. Thank you very much.
Colonel, you're the commander of the material analysis subsection. Is that?
That's correct, my lady.
To have become the commander, you've started in the South African Police Service at the Forensic Science Laboratory as an assistant analyst.
Assistant forensic analyst way back in 1992, my lady.
And after that, you progressed to?
To a forensic analyst, after which I was promoted to a senior forensic analyst. And
so you became a forensic, then you became a senior forensic analyst, and then?
A principal forensic analyst.
And then?
A chief forensic analyst.
And currently?
And currently, with the last promotion, I was promoted to control forensic analyst.
Would you please mention your academic qualifications, please?
My lady, I'm in possession of a BSc degree with chemistry and zoology as majors from the Northwest University, as it was called in those days, Potchefstroom University. I'm also in possession of an honors degree in chemistry from the same university, as well as a master's degree, MSc degree in chemistry, also from the Potchefstroom or the Northwest University, as it is called now.
How many years of scientific analysis experience have you had?
My lady, currently I have more than 29 years experience in scientific analysis, of which more than 21 years are practical experience in the Forensic Science Laboratory.
So you have attended various courses and workshops locally and internationally, and you've mentioned that in paragraph 2.3 of your report. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
And you confirm that you've undergone that training?
That's correct, my lady.
In your years in scientific analysis, how many forensic investigations have you completed?
My lady, during my time at the Forensic Science Laboratory, I completed almost 1,400 forensic investigations in various competencies.
Have you given evidence in court before?
That's correct, my lady. I've given testimony on numerous occasions in South African courts.
Now, in this particular instance, did you attend the scene?
My lady, I indeed attended the scene after the 2 weeks after the incident happened. On the 7th of March last year, my commander, Brigadier Sonia de Klerk, instructed me to assist with the investigation in this matter. And she also instructed me to attend the scene at house number 286, Silver Woods Estate. On the 8th of March last year, I went to the house where I was met by a number of other police officials, some known to me, some unknown to me.
Let us deal with people that were known to you at the time. Who can you remember being there?
My lady, people known to me at that time was Colonel Ian van der Nest, who's also a member of the Forensic Science Laboratory, Captain Chris Mangena from the ballistic section of the Forensic Science Laboratory, as well as Mr. Wolmerans, who was a private expert for the defense. He was there, and then there was a Mr. van der Westhuizen as well, both of which I knew from earlier in my career. They worked with us in the Forensic Science Laboratory.
On that particular day, they represented the defense.
That's correct, my lady. They represented the defense. There were other police officials also present on the scene, which at that stage I was not familiar with, and I didn't know them at that stage.
Now, you were asked to look into two issues. Is that correct?
Yes, my lady, that's indeed correct. I was requested to perform two investigations. The one was on the cricket bat, which was an exhibit in the case, as well as the door, which we see here in court. I was requested to determine if there was any marks, or there were any marks on the door that could relate to the cricket bat. And the next thing I was requested to do was to have a look at a steel plate, a cover plate for inspection hole on the bath, which was damaged and bent. And I was requested to determine if I could ascertain the cause of the bending of the plate.
if we're talking about a plate, let's deal with that firstly. In front of you, there is a file. If you can open that file at Exhibit E. And if you page to in that particular photo album at 118. Now, on photograph 118, do you recognize the plate?
That's correct, my lady. That's the plate that I investigated.
But you did not see it on the scene?
No, it was not. I did not investigate it on the scene. It came to the laboratory afterwards, and I received it at the laboratory on the 26th of April last year.
Now, you said on the 8th of March, when you went to the scene. When you went to the scene on the 8th of March, was the door in the toilet?
My lady, the door was not in the toilet or affixed to the frame of the toilet by the 8th of March. Captain Chris Mangena had possession of the door, and he brought it with him on that morning of the 8th of March. I assisted him in putting the door back into the frame, screwing it to the original holes in the door frame.
Which door are we talking about?
It's this door we're having here in court, ma'am.
So, what then happened as far as, let's deal with the plate. What did your investigations, what did your conclusions as far as the plate is concerned, what conclusions did you reach?
My lady, maybe I can just, before we get to that answer, I can just mention that my purpose for being on the scene on the 8th of March was just to accustom myself with the scene. I personally did not do any investigations on the scene. I just accustomed myself, and then I withdrew from the scene. On the 26th of April, I received the plate as well as the cricket bat, all sealed in evidence sealing bags from the forensic science, from the administration of the forensic science laboratory, and it was kept in my safekeeping under lock and key. Shortly after that, I opened the steel plate and had a look at the marks and the way the plate was bended to try and ascertain if I could determine the cause of the bending.
The results and the conclusions of your investigation as far as the plate is concerned, one will find in paragraph 9 of your report, is that correct?
That's correct, my lady. Paragraph 9.1, I mentioned that the steel plate got bent as a result of an object hitting or falling against the plate, just to the right of the center of this plate. Furthermore, did I determine that the object had to be hard enough to cause a faint scratch in the surface of the plate. The scratch was more or less in a vertical position, following the contours of the bend on the right hand side. If they can just assist you with indication there on the plate.
It's from the middle, from where it's bent.
On the right hand side.
On the right hand side.
There was a faint scratch in the where it's indicated now on the screen.
Sorry, just need to find a better position that I can sit in and cover up the headline scrolling in case there's anything that shouldn't be seen there. That's why I was jumping around.
From where it's bent?
On the right hand side.
On the right hand side.
There was a faint scratch in the where it's indicated now on the screen. It was, however, it was not very visible, and I had to inspect it under a microscope to actually see the scratch. From my investigations, it was not possible for me to ascertain the object or to determine what type of object was used or caused the bending of the plate.
Let us then go back to the door. You then, if I refer to paragraph 8, had an opportunity to see the door again.
That's correct, my lady. On the 30th of April last year, Captain Mangena called me and he said that he's busy with the investigation on the door and the door is available for me to inspect. And that was at the Forensic Science Laboratory at the ballistic section.
What happened then?
My lady, when I went to Captain Mangena's downstairs at ballistics, he showed me the door again, and I saw two distinct marks, which immediately drew my attention when I look at it. You can see it's the marks.
Wait, we'll get a different album for you. If you go to the album that we've handed in, Y, let's open Y at 478. In that, the last document in that file that you have with you, would you just keep paging? See it there? The second photograph, 478. Those are the marks you're talking about.
Those are indeed the marks that I'm talking about, my lady. And if you would excuse me, just to step down and show you, indicate on the door there, the two marks.
Yes, go ahead.
The small one on the edge here is the one mark, and then I refer to the elongated one as the second mark.
We will do it on the photograph as well. For record purposes, one can see those two marks at photograph 478. Am I right?
That's correct, my lady.
And also in your report, photograph 2, that indicates the two marks that we're dealing with.
In my report, that is a close-up of the close-up picture of the two marks, my lady.
Photograph 2, my lady, is at page 6 of 13 of Y1. Page 6 in Y1, one will find photograph 2. Yes, Colonel.
My lady, after inspecting the marks and comparing it with a cricket bat, I came to the conclusion that these are indeed consistent with being caused by hitting the door or bashing the door with a cricket bat.
Before we go there, you've described in paragraph 9.5 exactly where you found those two marks. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady. I said in my report that the marks were present between 200 and 300 millimeters above the lock of the door, and the height from the floor is between 1,400 and 1,530 millimeters from the floor, measured directly from the floor below the marks.
Now, in your investigation, were you able to fit the bat into the mark?
That's correct, my lady. The investigation revealed that the cricket bat actually made a physical match with the marks, which is a undisputable confirmation that the bat was used to bash the door.
Now, if one refers to your report, Colonel, in paragraph 3 of your report, page 7 of 13, my lady. And in the album, that would be 479. Is that how you fitted the bat to that specific mark one can see on the door?
That is correct, my lady. Obviously, it's not easy to take a proper picture because you only get it from one angle, but we can demonstrate it in court. I did bring the cricket bat with, and we can demonstrate a physical match with between the bat and the door on that specific mark.
Do you have the bat with you?
I do have the bat with me.
Can you just pick it up? Can you just describe the bat? What's the name of the bat?
It's a laser English Willow Club Plus cricket bat.
On the bat, on the face of the bat, what do you find there?
My lady, there's a couple of signatures. I suspect it's from well-known people. I do not know the signatures, but there's a couple of signatures on the face of the bat.
That's the bat you received?
That's the bat that I received on the 26th of April.
My lady, I beg leave to hand this in as Exhibit 1.
Exhibit 1.
Indeed.
Yes, it shall be so marked.
Court pleases. So, you then fitted that bat to the door, and you also established the angle of how it was hit.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, you deal with it in paragraph 9.8 of your report.
That's correct, my lady.
And photograph 4, page 8 of 13 of your report indicates the angle.
That's correct, my lady. That is the angle of the bat when it was used to make the smaller mark of the two.
Lady, may I beg leave that the witness leave the witness box and demonstrate to court?
Yes.
My lady, and if you'd permit me, I would like to take off my jacket just to be easier.
You may.
My lady, the bat made a physical match with the door in this position, which indicated to me that the person hitting the door had to be somewhere around here. When he hit it.
May I put that on record, my lady, to the best of my ability? The witness is standing next to the door, right side more to his left side more towards the wall, and he's hitting the ball. Would you, if you were hitting from where you're standing, just hit?
If I was hitting, would have been there.
If okay, just do that again. The witness is standing upright. He hasn't moved his position, and he's hit. The mark that he would hit the bat is, and I have a measuring plate available. Lady, may I take the court's leave that somebody just measure it for us?
Yes, please go.
This is Captain Ian Colonel Ian van der Nest. When I asked the witness, between the, I think you'll need more assistance. I'm begging for more people to just assist in doing it. How high would that be?
Maybe it must approximately be 1.85 meters high.
The mark that we have is how high?
The mark that we have is 1.53 meters high.
Okay.
My lady, I don't want to be out of place. Perhaps I am, but maybe just to curtail the proceedings, whilst he's showing that in his mark, maybe you can just stand further back as well, that you can get different marks, if Mr. Nell would assist us. I mean, further back from the door. And maybe get all the measurements that would assist later on. I mean, further back, my lady.
Further than that.
Further back? Further to reach it. Can you reach it? You reach it there.
That is 1.75, my lady.
But, Colonel, just go back, and I want you to hold the bat in the angle of the shot that we have on the door. Okay. That's the angle of it.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, if you stand upright, is it comfortable to hit there? How?
My lady, if I stand upright and I'm 1.79 meters tall, then it would have been, I would have been in a kind of uncomfortable position, not a natural position, to be able to have the bat in this. Even if I stood further away from the door, it would have been in a very uncomfortable and natural position for me.
But, Colonel, while you're standing there, just lower yourself. If you did that, then. Now, may I, with leave of the court, ask that the shoulder height of the colonel be measured as he is there, because you make contact with the place where it's hit.
Between 1.24 and 1.25.
Okay, 1.24 and 1.25. Now, lady, we have the photograph to show that. Photograph 484A, my lady, of the Y. That is a different shot. No, that's not that one. No, I will deal with the photograph. So that is the first mark on the door.
I suspect it is the first mark, my lady. I would not be able to say whether it's the first or the second mark, but it's one of the two marks that I investigated.
We're not saying first shot or second shot, we're saying first
We're
mark.
not talking about the sequence.
Yes, my lady.
Okay, let's call that the first mark.
That's correct, my lady.
Can we deal with the second mark on the door, paragraph 9.9?
My lady, again, the second mark, the cricket bat actually made a physical match on the second mark as well. But the orientation of the person that hit the door was a little bit different from the orientation that we saw in the first instance. And if you allow me, I will explain it to you again in reality. With the second mark, the person hitting the door was probably standing in front of the door, whereas opposed to the first mark, it was kind of standing parallel to the door.
Then,
with this shot, the bat actually went through the door and caused the opening here in the panel. You will see the design of this door is such that it has a frame on the outside and a loose panel on the inside. The bat went through the door, and there's actually marks on the toe of the bat which correspond with what happened here, where the bat went through the door, and these marks were created when the person kind of twisted the bat to break open the panel while the bat was through the door.
okay, if you just return, let's see if we can get it on record. In paragraph 9.9, you indicate how you fitted the bat to mark number 2.
That is correct, my lady.
And we'll deal with two things. Let's first deal with this shot to the door. Did it leave marks on the bat as well?
Indeed, my lady, it left marks on the bat as well. And in this photograph 483, you can see the vertical lines on the one side. That is the back side of the bat, and it's in fact a very distinct indentation present on the bat there.
If you run your finger across it there, you can feel there's an indentation.
You can very well feel the indentation on that side of the bat.
Now, also, that's 483, and it's also photograph number 7 in your report, page 11 of 13, Y1.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, let us first explain everything, and then we'll explain how the marks got there. Now, on that side of the bat, there's an indentation. Is there any marks on the face side of the bat?
On the face of the bat, my lady, this is the side with a distinct indentation. On the face side of the bat, I think you will be able to see the marks, kind of reddish colored marks on the face of the bat, which has the same angle as the indentation on the back side of the bat.
My lady, just to make sure we have it on the record, it's Y1, photograph 8, 12 of 13 of Y1, my lady.
You say photograph 8.
It's photograph 8, my lady, in the report Y1.
Yes, thank you.
And can we then photograph 484, that's the one we have on the screen at the moment, 484 of Y, my lady. Are those the marks that one can see there, the toe of the bat?
That's indeed the marks, my lady.
Now, you were able to physically fit the bat using the marks on the bat, using the mark on the door to get angle.
That's correct, my lady. There's actually two characteristics that made me conclude that the angle of the bat was as I described it. The one is the fact that, if you don't mind me to step down again, the one was when the bat went through the door, the shape here actually formed an exact physical match with the face of the bat. And at that angle, the marks on the side of the bat, that is the second characteristic that made me to believe that the bat was in this position when it went through the door. So the marks on either side confirmed my suspicion, and it also confirmed the physical match that the bat made when it went through the door.
Okay.
I can also expand on the indentation and this mark on this side.
Okay, we just move back and then do it there. If you explain why there's an indentation on the one side and not on the other.
The indentation on the one side, and that is the back side of the bat, which was in contact with the frame of the door, I'm not talking about the physical door frame, but I explained to you that the door has got the frame with a panel inside. The indentation was on the side of the frame of the door, which was a solid structure, whereas the opposite side of the bed was to the side of the panel. And when the twisting action was done, there was a greater force from the side of the frame, which caused the indentation.
Where the mark is, in terms of the weakest point in the door, where is that the mark 2 that we're talking about?
Mark 2 is actually on the weakest point of the panel. As the panel, as you can see there, has got beveled edges. That is to fit inside the frame of the door. And that was actually the weakest point of that panel, and that is why it was possible to hit the bat through the door.
Then again, whilst doing it, you also worked with angles after that.
That's correct.
If we could have 484, can I refer you to the photo album, photograph 484. That is the angle of the bat, 484A.
That's correct, my lady.
That's the angle of the bat.
That's correct, my lady.
There you're not standing upright.
No, I'm squatted down to actually get my hands in a natural position, holding the handle of the bat in the angle that the physical evidence on the bat indicated to me.
And one can see at 484C, that's how you stood, and you're not standing upright.
No, I'm not standing upright, my lady.
And perhaps you've got better eyes than I do. But is it possible for you to read the measurements as at your shoulder height there?
My lady, my eyes are as bad as his. I think there's a better picture with where you can see the exact
And you're right,
measurement.
484D, you're right.
There we go.
125, 124, 125.
It's more or less, I would say, 1.2425 meters from the floor level, my lady.
Colonel, when did you do these tests?
My lady, as I reported earlier, or as I said in my report earlier, initially I was only requested to determine if there was any marks on the door that could relate to the cricket bat or vice versa. And while I was busy doing that investigation, I did, for completeness sake, also recorded the angles that I witnessed it. That was done in April, if I'm correct, in April last year. Let me just get that to that.
30th of April. It's a paragraph.
Yeah, 30th of April, my lady.
Yeah.
Maybe just on that, my lady, that the angles was not recorded in my statement, which I wrote at that stage, as it was not part of the investigation. It was not part of the request that came to me. But I just added that to my notes. Actually, not notes. I recorded on photos here, just for completeness sake.
So those photographs were taken at the time that you did the tests on 30th of April.
These photographs were taken when I did my investigation, my lady.
Now, at that time, when you did the investigation, did you know what the shoulder height of the accused would be without these prostheses on?
My lady, I knew that he would be considerably shorter than what he would be with his prosthesis, but I was not privy to the information on measurements done on Mr. Pistorius at the time that I did the investigation.
Do you know now?
Subsequently, the end of last year, I think it was somewhere in November, I had the first consultation with Mr. Nell regarding my statement, and I just mentioned it as a side note to him that the marks on the door is actually consistent with him not having his legs on, and I suspect it must be similar to the height that he was when he fired the shots.
And did you then establish what his height was?
Only then, in November last year, I saw the first measurements of Mr. Pistorius without his legs.
And that was?
That was also in the, if I remember correctly, the shoulder height was 1.25 meters high.
Now, let us, with the leave of the court, indicate the angle of the bat and your height at 1.25 with shot number 2. May the witness lead?
Yes. Just before I step down, my lady, I just want to confirm that me holding the bat was done in the most likely position for a normal position when someone was hitting the bat. I did not try and force the position. It was a normal position, and you will see when I demonstrated that me kneeling down like that was to get into a normal position with a bat, as can be expected when someone was hitting the door.
So, and we have the photographs. Can I just request somebody to measure it again as far as the demonstration is concerned? The shoulder of the witness, please.
1.24 and 1.25.
Between 1.24 and 1.25. Thank you, Colonel. Apart from these two marks that we've testified about, were there any other marks on the door that drew your attention?
Indeed, my lady. If you look just below the lock on the left-hand side, there's a, you get this mark. I also noticed that mark, which was suspicious to me, but unfortunately I could not confirm that mark was caused by the cricket bat. But other than that, there were no marks that I could see that could have been made by the bat.
The cricket bat you kept in your position?
The cricket bat was kept in my position.
After you did the test?
After I did the test.
Now let us deal with the one mark. Are you able to describe the mark? That's not mark 3. Let's call it mark 3. Can you describe mark 3 to the court?
My lady, I'll try my best. It seems like it's a kind of a shaving for a mark that was caused by an object going kind of in line with the door, not as opposed to in a perpendicular direction. So, and it seems like it's a mark going downwards, but it's very difficult to confirm that it is in fact 100% what happened. The other characteristic of that mark is that it's quite low down on the door, which is it's not a normal position where I would suspect a mark to be caused by a cricket bat if someone wanted to break open the door.
If, with leave of the court, if you leave again, take the cricket bat and see how you can hit there. I would ask the court's leeway.
It could have been something like this, my lady, or
that's holding the bat vertical to the door in a up, down from bottom downwards position.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as I said, my lady, it's I was not able to determine that it was actually the bat that was used to cause that mark.
Lady, may I request the court for an adjournment of 10 minutes or so? I just want to go through my notes, make sure that I've let everything as far as it. I'm sure I did. I just want to.
We'll take 10 minutes break.
Mic is muted. I can't get those two silver things. My fingers are dying.
Visuals from the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria.
Don't you talk. I can't get those two silver things that like adjust the height. Can't get them to click in. So I need Vaughn's help. There's the Vol Dam. Look at that.
We'll be right back after that.
No. I think we're on this one.
Colonel, you still under oath? You're still under oath, Colonel?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you. Yes. Not sure, did you indicate something like you needed water?
Yes, I relied on my colleagues and they
Yes.
will see to it. Thank you, my lady.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
Thank you, my lady. Colonel, are you a certified tool mark examiner?
My lady, I'm not a certified tool mark examiner, but the technique that I used here was that of a physical match, which is very similar to tool mark investigations. And I've done international proficiency tests in shoe print investigations, and the principles of that is very similar to what is applied in this instance. I've passed all the international proficiency tests on that, my lady.
Have you done microscopic imaging of the mark on the door, the first one that you say was caused by the cricket bat?
I've not done a microscopic examination on the door, my lady, no.
Because what was striking to me, and I'll come back to the photos, even when on your version, for the time being, when you put the bat on that mark, some part of the mark was sticking out. It did not match fully on your on the photo that you took, and I'll come back to that. It was not a perfect match.
The reason why I took it like that, my lady, is just to show the mark. Otherwise, the mark would have been totally obscured by the cricket bat. And that is the reason why the bat was just slightly moved away from the door.
What different movements? Well, before I get there, I look at your evidence, and you say that what you came to the conclusion, or you held the view that Mr. Pistorius, when he hit the bat against the door, was in the same position as the time when he fired the shots.
No,
His stance.
my lady, that is not what I meant. I meant the height was similar to that when he fired the shots. I did not say he was in the same position. I meant if you understand it as being in the same position, that was not what I meant. I meant his height was most probably be in the same when he fired the shots.
I agree with that. I fully agree with that. Do you know when he fired the shots, whether he was on his stumps or on the prosthesis?
My lady, I was present when the door was investigated for the bullet holes, and from that I learned that he was not on his prosthesis when the shots were fired.
That's not the state's case. We have further particulars, and the state's case is that he was on his prosthesis.
It's not my case. If it's read in the further particulars, interpreted as such, it's not. The expert evidence of Captain Mangena was disclosed to the defense. It's clear from that we say he was not on his prosthesis. It's not my case that he was on his prosthesis. That was perhaps something that happened in the bail application. But as I'm standing here today, and the evidence of Captain Mangena would be that he was not on his prosthesis. And I did not say that he was in the further particulars.
Yes, Mr. Roux?
May I just check something? I know it's correct to refer to the bail, that was the case. Yes, that was indeed the bail application. That's indeed so. Colonel, we will ask you now, and you would have seen, because we did it when you were standing there, on different body positions, different shoulder turns, different distances from the door, that we could replicate the same mark on the door in the standing position. You saw that.
I saw you running around the door here, my lady, but I was not physically present to hear what they were discussing.
Was I running there or standing with the bat?
There was a big commotion around the door, my lady.
Now, before I get to that, because we will demonstrate it and we'll ask you to do some demonstrations on what we ask you, to show to you that it's a match when someone is standing and hitting the door. And I'm talking about the first mark that you referred to.
The smaller one of the two, my lady.
Have you done tests from different distances to see if you could match it?
I have done tests, my lady, and there's in fact another mark that I'll show you on the bat, which confirmed my finding, which is not in the photographs because it was kind of on the back of the bat. So I'm very, very happy to elaborate further on that, my lady.
First dealing with the first mark. We'll go to all
No, I'm talking about the first mark, sir.
Have you done tests standing up to see if it matches that mark?
Lady, with utmost respect, the witness said In a response to a question, I've seen a mark, I'm willing to elaborate, I'll show you if I can have the bat. He should now be granted the opportunity to do so. That was his response. His full response should be before court, before there's a further question asked. The witness said, I know there's a mark that I can show you, and that would confirm my view. The lady should be given the opportunity to do that and not ask a different question.
Lady, the state is entitled to re-examine the witness. It's cross-examination. We will get to every point. We will get to the demonstrations. And it's not for the state to dictate what we should ask where.
The lady, with the utmost respect, I'm not dictating. All I'm putting to court is, this witness is still busy answering. Then the next question is fine. He said, I'll show you.
Well, the witness was done with the answer, not so.
That's not my interpretation. His answer was, I can show you.
Yes, but if Mr. Roux chooses not to use that opportunity, the state is there to make sure that what he wants to show us is shown.
That is so, lady, but with the utmost respect, and it's the last argument on this, the witness is still answering. He indicated to court, I will answer, but I need something to complete my answer. I can go back to it, but the witness should be allowed to answer.
That's not how I get it.
As a court, please.
That's not what I get it.
As a court, please.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Roux.
Thank you, my lady. If I may proceed.
Yes, please.
I want you to go, if with leave of the court, to go to the door and first, I'm not going on exact heights now. First, stand on your knees with the bat. You have a little, it's not, we don't need it right now. If you can just do that for me with the bat in your hand, Colonel.
My lady, can I just have the bat?
And I know you're going to be lower now because you're not standing with your knees on the little bench, but just for present purpose, on the carpet.
Do you mean on my knees?
Yes, on your knees, like you would hit the door as you demonstrated. Would you now do me a favor and lift your feet? Because Mr. Stock, no, stand down on your knees, but lift your feet up. Up. Keep it down.
I can't see what's happening. Just explain to me what is happening.
Are you losing your balance?
I'm off balance, yes, my lady.
You can try it again in case you think there's a trick in it.
No, but
you can tell the court what happened to you.
My lady, when I lift my feet, I'm off balance.
Mr. Pistorius, I was trying, and we'll get to that at a later point, to show it is fine to illustrate someone standing on his knees, but with support by his feet. And what I want to put to you, he has even less support than your knees. We'll get to that, and expert evidence on that. He has even less support than you have. So are you saying, and if you tested it, a person standing on stumps like you would stand on your knees and trying to have some balance and hitting the door with the bat?
My lady, I'm not an expert in this, and I haven't been around people that doesn't have legs, so I'm not willing to give a statement on this. Let's leave it there.
Well, let's look at the experiment. Can you tell the court now that you're back in front of the microphone, what happened to you when you lifted your feet just to be on your knees?
I lost my balance, my lady.
Could you hit the door with the bat?
Well, I don't know whether I would be able to do it.
To try again?
If I grew up without legs, that would be a different story. The other argument is also valid, my lady. If he had enough balance to fire a firearm, then I would suspect that he would have enough balance to hit the door with a cricket bat.
Can I ask you again? Would you want to go back, take the bat, and see if you can keep your balance and have power to hit the door? You want to do it?
My lady, I'm not going to do it because I'm not in the same position as what Mr. Pistorius was. I'm not used to being on my knees trying to execute actions like that.
Sorry,
I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for me going there. I've already indicated that I cannot hold my balance.
In what position was Mr. Pistorius when he fired the shots?
As I understand it, my lady, he was kind of with an angle towards the door.
In what position was he?
From the ballistic evidence, he was on his stumps, my lady.
Yes, and was there any support or not?
Not that I know of.
Do you know or don't you know?
Not that I know of, my lady.
But before we get to the further demonstrations, I need to understand the preservation of the scene. I looked at a bat. What's happened to the rubber handle of the bat? The rubber piece.
My lady, I'm not in a position to testify about the rubber handle. When I received the bat, it was in this condition. It is my understanding, though, and I'm up for correction, but it's my understanding that the rubber was removed for fingerprint analysis.
When did you get the bat?
I got the bat. It's in my statement, my lady. That was on the 26th of April.
Who did you get it from?
I got it from the Forensic Science Laboratory Administration section, my lady.
Do you know who it was?
My lady, it would typically be the lady responsible for our exhibit store. We have a system where we book out our exhibits from the exhibit store with biometrics, where you scan your fingerprint and the evidence sealing bag number is recorded on the system, and only then do I receive it.
Do you know where it was preserved from the time of the incident to the time that you received it?
No, my lady, I wouldn't be able to say exactly what happened with it after it was collected from the scene until it got to the laboratory.
I'm asking you this for two reasons. The second one is that we need to understand the preservation of an exhibit. And the first one is, but I assume Mr. Botha will deal with that in his evidence, Mr. Hilton Botha, that when we looked at the photographs, on that day, the bat was found in different positions. And we're trying to find out who preserved the scene and how it was possible for the bat to change positions. Would you know anything about it?
My lady, I would not be able to say anything about the collection of the bat, the position it was in. I only became involved later on in the investigation when the scene was already processed. So what happened on the scene, I do not have any information about.
And let's look at the door. When did you see the door for the first time?
I saw the door for the first time on the 8th of March when I, together with other colleagues, and
8th of March last year.
Last year, yes,
2013. Yes.
when we went back to the crime scene on the 8th of March. That was the first time that I saw the door, my lady.
Was the door taken to the crime scene?
The door was taken to the crime scene, my lady.
Who preserved the door up to then?
My lady, on the 8th of March, the door arrived with Mr. Mangena. So I guess he had custody of the door before that. When he got hold of the door and when it was left in his custody, I would not be able to say.
I tell you why I ask you, because we will show through photographs that there are additional marks on the door, and we're trying to find out where those marks come from, because those marks do not appear on the photographs of the 14th of February 2013.
I would not be able to say where those marks came from, my lady. The door was never in my custody. So I would not be able to elaborate on additional marks if there's additional marks.
Have you, for instance, now examining the door, taken this one step to say, please show me the photographs taken on the day of the 14th, so that I can compare if this door was in fact preserved or whether there are additional marks on the door? Have you done that?
My lady, no, I did not request any photographs from the crime scene, no.
Did you think it was necessary to look at all the marks and to first of all establish whether all the marks were indeed on the door on the 14th when the photographs were taken?
My lady, if there was additional marks on the door, none of those marks drew my attention to the bat. It was only those two marks that I've already indicated that form part of my investigation. And those marks I saw for the first time on the 8th of March last year when we did the crime scene.
What happened to, I see there are pieces missing of the door.
Again,
where are those?
Again, my lady, I cannot say what happened to those. As you can see, the door was broken open on the day of the incident. Those pieces might have not been collected. I do not know. I would not be able to say where those pieces are. They probably got left on the scene or whatever. I cannot say.
It doesn't make sense to me, Colonel. You go to a scene. We all heard about the importance of the door. Surely you don't leave pieces of the exhibit behind on the scene. Is that how it works?
It was not me, my lady. So I cannot say what happened to those. I was not on the scene when the door was collected.
Have you ever asked for those pieces?
My lady, for me, that was not part of my investigation. I had to look at the marks at the door. So the pieces that were missing, I had to deal with the door without those pieces. That is the exhibit that I received.
But surely when I look at this, the opening there, the missing pieces, it would be interesting to know if those pieces have marks on consistent with the cricket bat.
It would have been interesting, and it could have shed some more light, confirmed or whatever on my findings. But that is what I had to deal with, my lady. Very often, when you do crime scene investigations, you do not have all of the evidence available. And as far as I know, that is not available for investigation.
Well, the first question that I think you should ask is, where are the pieces? And take steps to try and establish whether they exist, whether they can be brought to you. And what I'm trying to find out from you, Colonel, is whether you took those steps at all, and if so, to share that with us.
My lady, it did come to my mind, and if I
We might not like the defense attorney, but he has a very valid point here.
Remember correctly, there were discussions about the missing pieces, but from what I could establish from the door and the 2 marks, I was happy to go without those pieces.
Who did you have the discussions with?
My lady, that was over the past year that the door was discussed amongst us, and I cannot exactly remember who it was discussed with, but I remember missing pieces on the door being an issue at some stage.
And what was the feedback that you received?
I was not able to get any missing pieces or to be able to locate any missing pieces, my lady.
Did they tell you that the pieces are gone, they're missing, or did they tell you they're somewhere but they don't know where they are?
My lady, the information that I have, or the understanding that I have, is that the pieces are not available.
Who told you that they're not available?
Well, as I said, I cannot remember exactly who I spoke to, but nowhere that any of those exhibits appeared in the SAP 13 or whatever. So there's no evidence of those pieces, my lady.
Did you keep any notes on what you were doing in relation to the door?
Yes, my lady, all my notes is actually recorded on with a camera. So I relied on the photos taken during my investigation. And I can also mention that the photos that were shown this morning are not only photos. The defense has got they have all the photos taken during my investigation in their possession, my lady.
But there must be a forensic docket.
There is a case file. We do have case files in the laboratory.
Could you make that available?
I can make it available if it's an issue, but as I said, my notes and my recollections of the investigation are all in the photographs, my lady.
I tell you why we request that from you, because I think it's not in dispute that you gave a report, and what is not in the report is that the accused must have or was on his stumps when he hit the door with a cricket bat. That's not in your report.
My lady, as I said earlier in my evidence in chief, was that by the time that I did the investigation on the door, the only request to me was to determine if there were any marks on the door that related to the cricket bat. I was not requested to determine the state or whether Mr. Pistorius was wearing his prosthesis or not. And that is why it's not in my report. And I've said that explicitly during my evidence in chief.
But that's not what it's all about. We know one thing. You're at the forensics department. When you have additional information and you have a report, you bring out a second report.
My lady, as I said in my evidence in chief, during the consultation, I think it was in November, the first consultation with Mr. Nell regarding my report, I just mentioned it to him as a side note that my observation is that Mr. Pistorius was not on his legs, he was on his stumps when the door was hit, not knowing that it was an issue. And then Mr. Nell pointed out to me that that there's a discrepancy with his statement, as in the statement in the bail hearing, apparently Mr. Pistorius said that he was on his prosthesis when he hit the door.
But then you go, because now you know it is important. Then you do a report so that that report can be filed in a docket, that there's no surprises, and say, well, I have since seen this, and I think in all fairness, let's disclose this and make a second report available. Why was that not done?
My lady, by that time, my case file was already closed and finished on the system at the laboratory. I did discuss it with Mr. Nell, and as far as I know, he did disclose it to the defense. So for me to go and make another report was actually not necessary.
It is shortly before the trial, in a late submission of a further particulars to say the accused was on his stumps. That's what the state will say. No report. Let's see, when did you come to this finding? That according to you, he must have been on his stumps when he hit the door with the cricket bat. When was that?
My lady, as I said several times now, when I did the inspection on the door on the 30th of April last year, I did notice that the marks were low, and I did mention the measurement of my shoulder height, matching the angle of the bat as it was deducted from the marks on the door. So I was, in my mind, already confident on the 30th of April last year that Mr. Pistorius was not on his prosthesis. With that said, it was not an issue at that stage. It was never an issue for me. It was never something that I had to put in a report, because by that time, Mr. Mangena also spoke to me and confirmed to me that Mr. Pistorius was not on his stumps when he fired the shots. So it was not an issue for me. It was basically confirming what Mr. Mangena said at that stage. I was only in November of 2013 was I informed that there was allegations that Mr. Pistorius was not on his stumps when he hit the door.
Why then not to report?
As I said, my lady, I did inform the prosecutor in the case about it in an informal discussion, and I left it in his hands, my lady.
What I'm trying to understand, it is for the first time in one sentence disclosed in February 2014. I'm trying to find out now that knowledge, and insofar as you're correct, with that knowledge, November, December, and January, and a part of February, you're from the forensics department. Go back to your forensic docket, open it, and do a report.
My lady, I did inform the prosecution about that. I couldn't see another reason why I must physically go and write a report. Our 212 statements serves as a ways of presenting evidence in court. It doesn't mean it has to be a 212 statement on all of our findings. So at that stage, I was happy that I did inform the relevant people and the necessary people about what I found there, and that's why I didn't write the report.
You understand, of course, that there's one purpose to disclose the contents of the docket to the accused, and that is to inform him about a case for him not to be ambushed. That part you understand?
I understand that absolutely, my lady.
Now, did you feel satisfied that the information going in the docket was not dealing with your views that the accused was, according to you, on his stumps when he hit the door with the cricket bat?
That's a very long sentence.
I'm sorry, can I break that up?
Yes.
I'll be glad. Thank you, my lady.
Were you satisfied that it was fair just to have your 212 statement not dealing with the fact that the accused, according to you, was on his stumps when he hit the door?
I was happy because I relate the message to the point where all the information is going to, and from where the necessary information would be distributed again, my lady.
Now, my understanding is that you did the test on the 30th April 2012.
That is when I inspected the door and the cricket bat, my lady.
And where was that done?
That was done at the ballistic section at the Forensic Science Laboratory, my lady.
What you did not do, you did not go back to the house, get permission, and fix the door into the frame.
My lady, that was not necessary to do that, because we had the height of the door when we were there on the 8th of March for the scene. All the measurements were taken, so I knew exactly how high the door was from the floor and how high the marks were from the floor. So when we put up the door there, the ballistic section, on the 30th of April, it was not necessary for me to go back to the house, my lady.
What was the door standing against on the 30th, to keep it up straight?
On the 30th, my lady, it was standing up against one of the cabinets at the ballistic section.
What kept it up straight and not leaning? Because I looked at photos and it appeared that it was leaning slightly against the cabinet.
It was indeed leaning slightly, my lady, but the angle of the door leaning slightly was not such that it would have influenced any of my investigations. I did take that into account when I did the investigations, my lady.
The hit of the door, that's basically also a trajectory. The movement of the bat, that's a trajectory. It's not a firearm, a bullet trajectory, but it's the cricket bat trajectory.
It's a movement in the direction, yes, my lady.
It's a trajectory that you must determine to see if it could match with the mark on the door. We're all first talking about the first mark. It's basically a trajectory that you must follow.
My lady, the investigation that I did, I had a mark on the door and I had a cricket bat, and I had to determine in what position that bat was. Doesn't matter what the trajectory was before it contacted with the door. I had to determine the mark on the door, in what position the bat had to be to cause that mark.
Well, if it was a firearm, let me understand. Would it have made a difference if the door was angled?
If it was a firearm, my lady, depending on the dimension of the target through which the bullet went, that could have influenced the finding slightly. But as I said, this is not a firearm. I had a mark on the door, and I had to match the bat with a mark on the door. The angle, whether it was 1 degree or 2 degrees, would not have made a major impact. In fact, if the door was like this, and the bat was from this side, if the door was standing exactly perpendicular to the floor, the bat would, the handle of the bat would even be lower than, although very slightly, it would have been lower than what it was with that very slight angle, my lady.
Now, what positions did you take in when you determined the matching of the mark, the first mark? What body positions?
Initially, I just used the bat and I tried to figure out how the bat could have been used to cause those marks, and then I eventually discovered that the bat must have been in that one position, and after I did the analysis on the second hole, it was only then that I kind of crouched down to try and see what the normal position or the expected position would be of the person wielding the bat.
What is this expected position? What did you take into account to determine the expected position?
The expected position, my lady, I took that as the reasonable position for someone hitting a door. You can imagine if a tall person has to hit that thing, you will be in a kind of an unnatural position. And if we just think about our normal actions, we will usually unconsciously be in a natural position when we do any actions. I'm not standing on my knees when I'm doing the dishes. That's not a usual position to do the dishes. If I can explain it that way, to be very extreme now.
I wanted to say maybe when you're scared of your wife, you can do it in that way. I want Mr. Kruger, with the leave of the court, my lady, to go to the door, assist the candidate attorney, not to get the witness to move away from the door, just to assist in the demonstration.
Yes.
Thank you, my lady. And if you would kindly hand him the bat. I would first want you to stand up straight and put the bat matching in a position. Just put it in the matching position. You're welcome to go closer and then to inspect and to see if it matches.
My lady, I can see it from here, it doesn't match. It's very easy to look at the distance and try and simulate the position. But if you're welcome to come down and you will see that if the bat was in that position, the corner of the bat, of the backside of the bat, would have made a very distinct mark in the door. Whereas the mark that he's referring to now is a more flat surface with the bat, which corresponds with the side of the bat. And if it was in this position, like he's holding it now, then the mark would have been different, my lady.
Just go to the door, if your ladyship will allow you, and see if it is on the mark. But until you're satisfied that's on the mark. You surely, are you suggesting that he hit the door with a flat bat? You can go back.
Not a. No, I did not say he hit it with a flat bat. We must maybe just get the definition of a flat bat correctly. But what I said was that the side of the bat is also flat, and the mark on that door corresponds with the side of the bat, the flat side of the bat, not as what he had it there, where the bat was at a very acute angle or a big angle, which would have caused a much sharper mark in the door.
Well, if you would not mind to go now and show us. When you hit the door, you can just stop short, how you would get the bat in a flat position. And then we'll go to the second position. Stand
in a flat position, I would.
No, on the side, I mean.
Okay, this is not a flat, it's a side-on position, I would.
The side-on position.
You wanted me to?
Yes. Just don't break the door, please, just go close to the door. You can hit it. So lower now, stand a little bit back. Now you don't have to bend your knees, just stand a little bit back and use your back. Put it now on the mark. What is it that you say?
I say I'm in an unnatural position at the moment, my lady.
Is it unnatural to you?
Just do that unnatural position because I have to reach out to
Will you go back and bring your body forward and tell me what's unnatural? What is unnatural about that?
Mr. Pistorius would not be able to reach this much further.
Why not?
Because my lady.
Can you go back to the microphone? Why not?
My lady, as I said, And you must realize that my finding was not just under one mark. My finding was based on both marks. And if you look at both marks, there's very distinct marks on the side of the bat, together with a physical match that gave me the angle of the bat.
Let's take it step by step. Go back to that position that you say is unnatural, and I'm sorry that I don't see it, but go back and now compare it with the mark in that position.
My lady,
and tell us what the mark will show.
I'm of the opinion if we do the investigation in isolation, that we will be able to skew the findings at the end. So that is why I said it's important to look at the total investigation, to look at all the factors that was taken into account when I made my findings.
What do you mean that it's possible to skew the investigation?
My lady, what I meant with that was that if you just look at things in isolation and do not take into account the other factors, then one might get to, on specific things, might get into onto a different finding. And that's why it's important for me to also show the marks on the second shot to substantiate my findings.
But please do it. Can I just go back to this? I'm so sorry, Colonel. The first mark you see you could do by hitting the door, but you say that's in isolation. You could replicate the mark, but you say that was in isolation.
That's not what I said, my lady. I just said we must be careful not to look at different things and argue it in isolation. Then we might skew the findings.
Let's just go back. Before you go back to the door, on your demonstration, we could explain the first mark. I understand in isolation, but we could explain it in a standing up position. Not so?
That's correct, my lady. And there's maybe another mark that, then I must confess, I saw it this morning as well, which further confirms my finding.
Let's go to the second mark then.
I do not know whether it's allowable now to also indicate to the defense the second mark on this, which will confirm my finding on the first.
Tell us about the second mark, and then we'll do the test on both scenarios.
My lady, I would like to indicate to the defense there on the side of the bat here. There's a very distinct red mark which also corresponds with the edge of the door here. If the bat was used to hit it like that, which is a further confirmation. And I must confess that I discovered this morning when I took the bat out of the evidence sealing bag. Excuse me. And I think it's important that the defense have a look at that to just accustom themselves with that mark as well.
Just show us how that mark would only be caused to the bat. If you stand on your knees, to show how that mark would only be caused in that position.
On my knees or on my on the lifted position.
On the lifted position on your knees. What is it? You can go back and say what you demonstrate.
My lady, what I demonstrated just now was the mark that I found on the door. Actually fitted very well with the side of the toe of the bat.
Now go back and hit it in a standing position.
And you want me to hit it in the same position?
Yes. What do you say?
My lady, that is why I want the defense to have a look at this mark, which will confirm that the bat was not in the position that I was in when I did it the last time now. That the bat was actually, the handle of the bat, the angle of the bat was much lower than what it was in the last instance.
We'll come back to that because it's new. Let's go to the third mark. Do we say that it fits into the mark?
The third
opening, yes.
And what do you want me to do?
Just show me how it fit in there. Now put it in. Is it in the whole way?
My lady, can I maybe just clarify this to the defense? And I'm going to do it by an example. If you take a nail and you hit it into a piece of wood and you pull it out and you try to push it in there again without the force of a hammer, then you're not going to be able to push it in there just lightly. There is a certain amount of what do you call it, expansion when you put force onto the bat, and that is exactly what happened here. The bat was hit with force when it went through the door, and that was when the physical match, or that was when the mark was formed. And now to just slightly try and put it, or lightly try and put it back into that mark is not going to is not going to work if you do not use a lot of force to do that. And that is why the bat doesn't go in just like a key in a lock.
Go in this position where you're standing and go to the same opening. Stand back. You can stand more to the left.
To the left?
Yes. You can twist your bat anyway.
This is the position which I suspect the person was when he hit the.
Just put it in. Force in.
I don't want to force it too much now, my lady, because it might create some new marks.
Does it replicate the mark?
It corresponds to the marks, my lady.
When you were standing.
Excuse me?
When you were standing.
No, the bat is in the lower position now. It's an unnatural position if I'm standing.
Let's forget about unnatural positions, what you regard as unnatural. Just remain in the standing position, and if I don't really contact the door, then it goes in there. I'll ask Mr. Kruger to do it if you don't want to do it, but you can first do it. Please go back and show us again.
I just want to say something, my lady. It's important to note the natural position. Because as I explained, when you do certain actions, one would not do it in an unnatural position, because it's embedded in your whole system to do it in a natural type of way, not to be uncomfortable when you perform certain actions.
Why is a natural position, according to you, the natural position of Mr. Pistorius?
My lady, as I said, if I have to demonstrate it to you what I meant with a natural position, if the bat was in like it is here, it would have been I would have been in an unnatural position to handle or to hold the handle of the bat.
You can lift it a little bit, it's fine, it's correspond.
If I lift it, then again,
push it in.
If I lift it, then again the marks on the side is not corresponding with the side of the door and the panel. And that is the finding that I made. And based on the marks on the side, as well as the physical match in there, was what caused me to believe that the bat was actually in this position.
And not just go back with the bat and standing position. You can bend your back, it's fine. You can, not your legs, not your legs. Just bend your back. Yes? Does it go in?
It will go in, yes.
Is it unnatural to bend your back when you hit something?
This is a very unnatural, uncomfortable position.
Is it uncomfortable to you?
It's uncomfortable to me, my lady, yes. And it's unnatural.
Are there any other marks that you say that, apart from the fact that it was uncomfortable and you described as unnatural, did it replicate? Did it match?
You mean the bat matched with the door? My lady, as I said earlier in my testimony in chief, that I couldn't find any other marks on the door which I was comfortable to link with the bat and the action of bashing open the door.
Can you remember my question?
Is there any other marks?
Was it, when you forget about now that you regard it as unnatural, when you replicated that shot in the standing position, did it match?
In the standing position?
Yes, you were there.
In the natural, comfortable position.
I say, forget about what you regard as natural. Did it match when you were standing? Did the mark match?
My lady, I'm not
when you were
certain that I understand
straight.
When you were standing with your back bent when you went through, did the mark match?
When you were standing with this?
No, you don't have to bend your legs. Just your back and go like you've done it before.
Like this?
Yes, does it match?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Am I correct in understanding that all the marks will match, also standing, but for the fact that in your mind, in your evidence, you do not regard a bent back as a natural position?
My lady, as I said in my evidence in chief, the marks matched with in a natural position without the legs of Mr. Pistorius. That the marks is consistent with him being in a natural position without these prostheses.
I cannot understand it, but we've moved on to get you to demonstrate. Each one that I ask you, each of your marks, you demonstrated also by standing, not so. And each mark matched.
It matched if I bent myself into an unnatural position, yes, my lady.
The only difference is you say that it was an unnatural position for you to be into it at all.
Yes, my lady.
Now, I'm trying to find out in your test how many of these unnatural positions that you described that you photograph, perhaps, that we can look at to see how many body positions you can take in hitting the door, because it depends on shoulder turn, it depends on how far forward you move with your back, it depends on the distance you're away from the door. How many, did you take different pictures or did you take a video of that so that we can look at it?
My lady, I did not take pictures, neither did I take a video, but I think it's evident in what I showed you here today, the unnatural position that I demonstrated. I must be in before the bat match. I think that is pretty self-explanatory.
Now, is it your version, doesn't matter if you're standing on his stumps according to you or standing up straight, that the bat went through the door, it broke the door?
My lady, that is indeed true. The bat went through the door, and as I said in my statement as well, my understanding of what happened there was a twisting action of the bat or a wedging action of the bat, which caused the frame. And if you can just point it out here, the bottom piece broke out, and there's a piece on the back that also broke out. I just slightly or lightly put it back together to keep the frame intact, but this piece was actually loose when I investigated the door. So my view is that the bat went through the door, and the only way to break it open was to wedge it like this and break open the lips on the frame of the door.
Well, if the bat goes in, and I'm just asking, if the bat goes in, you pull it out and you take your hands and you rip that out, what would happen? Have you tried that?
That is part of what happened, what my view is. When the bat went through the door, you know, and the twisting action was applied to the frame, this piece most probably broke out. And then the accused could have been able to rip out the rest of the door.
Of course, you could also hit it through, then put your hand in and rip it open. Equal force.
No, I disagree with that, my lady.
Show me why.
Because if this was intact and the piece in the back of the door was intact, it would have been very difficult to rip it out. When you have the bat through the door and you can wedge it, you've got the leverage, which is much more than just the force of your hands to
You
open.
say it would be more difficult.
Much more difficult, yes, my lady.
Have you tried it?
My lady, I didn't try it because the door was already broken when I got it.
Now, if we look at this story, it is consistent, and I think it's conclusive, in fact, and if you disagree, we can go through it, that when the shots were fired, the door was intact. It was not broken.
That is true, my lady.
What is your view? When was the door hit?
When was the door hit?
Hit with the bat. Before or after the shots?
My lady, I would say the door was hit after the shots, or at least some part of it broke after the shot. Because if you look at the crack down here, it enters this bullet hole on the one side and it exits on the other side. Or it enters on the one side and exits on this side. So what this tells me is that there had to be a hole in the door before this piece broke off. Otherwise, the crack would have gone straight through.
Lady, may I just inquire something that I was thinking of, and if you would not mind me doing it to communicate just with the recording facility. I'm just concerned when the witness moves away that it's maybe not recorded because he's not in front of the microphone. And I was
at
just
the door and he's speaking.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
May I just inquire, my lady? I was just concerned about. And lady, I'm really. May I ask for a short adjournment just to listen to it, because what I try to avoid is that he's giving evidence away from the microphone and it's not there. That means that I would have to reconstruct it.
Take a short adjournment.
All right, I'm going to use this short adjournment to tell you guys what my verdict is on the ergonomics things. So, fuck. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is brilliant. I started watching and then I just got bored because there wasn't all too much that was grabbing my interest. And you guys have seen, like, our parliament is very, 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 very interesting. So that was kind of tame. So I got this thing. Wait. Which I thought might be able to pop up as a keyboard tray. It's utter rubbish. Put it back in the box and I'm going to send it back. Then I got this elbow clamp thing because it's the hand that scrolls the mouse, this shoulder, because it's constantly forward. It's the one giving me issues. So I just wanted to see if I could get something to lean on that. But my desk doesn't have, like it won't attach nicely. This little table that I built, it's decent. It's a little flimsy. It feels like if I lean on it too hard, it might just like crack in the middle. But I mean, it was dirt cheap and it can fold away and whatever. The footrest, I like the bubble things. It's got like these bubbles on top and they're like massaging my feet while I move them. However, it tilts like that all the time. There's no way to lock the tilt. And that's getting a bit annoying, but we'll see. While we're in this break, I have found so this is a different murder trial, but I like this judge. And I want to circle back, but I want to show you guys a bit of this. I'm going to be focusing, so we won't watch a ton. When I come on for the next break, then we can hop back over to Oscar. But I just wanted you to see like how different this is. Steve, you'd think that they would have that built in. Like, yeah, no handstands. No. And I'm also not going to climb on it to hang wallpaper. The problem is less the mouse itself and more the height of the thing that my hand needs to be on. Honestly, like I did a whole deep dive into ergonomics and realized that our biggest problem is that we don't have keyboard trays anymore. And so now I'm trying to fix that whilst also trying to make my office stay in the kind of, I think it's called like post-war aesthetic or something. Okay, let's watch a bit of Jason Roeder. I am going to put the pizza in the oven and then I'm going to be, I'm going back to the people's, how do I edit this? Can I not edit that? I'm going back to the people's that I couldn't do any research on yesterday. Can you put leg one way and the other? Can you put one leg one way and the other the opposite way? So the table's fine. It can come right up to me because it's got no back legs. It just goes like that. I'm just feeling like when I lean on it. Oh, is that what you're meaning for extra stability? I don't know if it'll help. Okay, let's not get distracted. I'm starving.
That it indicated it was going to call. And it ended up calling approximately 15 of those witnesses. I think it's fair to say that the main thrust of the case for the state is to be seen in the evidence of the forensic pathologists, as well as the testimony of the handyman, Mr. Desmond Daniels. The testimony of all three of these witnesses is, of course, strongly disputed, as would have been apparent from the cross-examination of each of these witnesses. On a more peripheral level, the prosecution called various witnesses relating to the mental state or alleged absence of depression or suicidal risk on the part of the deceased. In that regard, I think of Mrs. Nader, the marriage guidance counselor, Mrs. Newcomb, the psychologist, Dr. Steenkamp, the general medical practitioner. In addition to
Where'd the sound go?
The state also presented the evidence of or called various other witnesses, and they can really be divided into three categories. The first category, a vanity case, and deceased. I noted that one particular letter that was addressed in my opening address, reference was made therein to the reasons for the termination of my learned friend's mandate, and a particular reference was made to a potential conflict of interest and certain reasons which couldn't be disclosed because they were privileged. In case there's any misunderstanding in this regard, I wish to make it perfectly clear that insofar as there might have been any potential conflict of interest, this did not in any measure hinge on anything that was said or not said or any conduct on the part of the accused. The mandate, the decision to terminate the mandate was taken by the accused. As I see the case, my lady, the forensic pathologist, Dr. Khan, arrived at the alleged crime scene. He saw traces of blood in the bedroom. He saw a deceased person lying on her back in the bathroom. He observed what can only be described as extensive bruising to the inside of the thighs, particularly her left leg, but in fact on both legs. He made a crucial error in regard to his assessment of the deceased body's hypostasis and concluded from that erroneously that the deceased could not have died in a hanging position. He made a fundamental error. Now, and when you answer just for that portion of the evidence. Thank you. Now, Mr. Rueda, I want to start off by saying to you, please speak a little bit more loudly. When you took the oath now, it was difficult to hear you. And when you answer questions, please address the learned court. Now, what is your date of birth?
10th of January 1969.
So how old does that make you now?
I'm 49 years old.
Where were you born?
I was born in Birmingham in the UK.
And when did you move to South Africa?
While I was an infant, I believe 2 or 3 years old.
Okay. And you moved to South Africa with your mother and your father?
My mother and my biological father, that's correct.
Right. Take us a little bit through the relationship between your mother and your biological father.
I don't really know a great deal. They got divorced when I was still an infant, and he moved back to the UK subsequently after that.
And did you have any further contact with your natural or biological father after that?
I had no further contact. My biological father's daughter reached out to me in early 2015, but outside of that, I've had no contact with him.
Did your mother remarry?
Yes, she did. She married Peter Roda, who adopted me and who I now consider my father.
And when were you adopted?
I stand to be corrected, but I believe it was in 1975.
And where did you grow up in South Africa?
I grew up in Bryanston 3, which is on the border of Randburg, in Johannesburg.
What schools did you attend?
I attended Bryndale Primary and King Edward VII School in Johannesburg, where I was at boarding school.
Right. In what year did you matriculate?
I matriculated in 1987.
After matriculating, were you called up to do your compulsory national service?
Yes, I did. I was the last intake that did 2 years of national service.
And where did you do that?
I did that in Bloemfontein. I was stationed in Bloemfontein for most of my 2 years.
Right. And did you get any rank while you were in your military training?
Yes, I was selected to attend Panzer School, which is the officer training course, and I graduated as an NCO after my first year.
Right. So you completed your military training then for 2 years in 1989.
That's correct.
What did you do after that? In terms of further studies?
I enrolled for a BCom degree through an institution in Johannesburg by the name of Midrand Campus, which was an extension of UNISA, and I started studying towards a Bachelor of Commerce degree.
Right. When did you meet your late wife?
I met my late wife towards the end of 1989. We met at a party towards the end of 1989, so as I was leaving, finishing the army.
Did you complete your bachelor's degree?
No, I did not.
How far did you study?
I got to the equivalent of second year, I think it was.
Okay. And why didn't you complete your degree?
Because at the time, well, to be honest, I was pretty lazy, and academically, I just wasn't motivated. And I got married on the 11th of December 1993, and straight after that, Susan and I moved to Australia.
So you immigrated to Australia?
That's correct.
Just briefly, what motivated you to emigrate to Australia?
Susan's parents had moved to Australia for
Is
work.
that now Mr. Neville and Mrs.
That's right.
Diane Holmes?
That's correct. They had moved to Australia for work purposes, and back in those days, there was a family reunion visa, which allowed your extended family to join you in Australia. So on the back of that, Susan and I moved to Perth, Western Australia.
Prior to moving to Perth, and during the period when you were studying or still registered for your BCom degree, did you work?
I did work. I worked for Mutual and Federal as a claims assistant, basically an administrative clerk job, the best way to describe it.
Was that during that period up till 93?
That is correct.
And when you moved to Australia, did you have employment in Australia?
No, I arrived unemployed, but I soon found a job, and I started working as a property consultant in Australia within a month or two of arriving in Australia in 1993.
Okay. And what is a property consultant, just for the record?
In Australia, what we used to do is I worked for a property development company where they would buy big parcels of land, they would subdivide those up and build show houses on them, and I was, in essence, one of the salesmen where we would sit in the show days, people would come in, we would show them various parcels of land, they would choose their land, we would then sit with them with the various draftsmen and design the homes that they wanted to build on that particular parcel of land. We would then take that, have it costed out in our costing department, put the package together, arrange the finance, and deliver them a home.
Right. Now, when you moved to Australia, did you take out Australian citizenship?
Yes, after a period of time, I think it was 4 years, you had to be in the country, I believe it was 4 years at that stage, you were granted Australian citizenship. So I took Australian citizenship. I wrote to the South African Home Affairs Department inquiring whether I could do that, and I got, both Susan and I got written permission back stating that we were allowed to have dual citizenship. So whenever I traveled in and out of Australia, I would have to produce that letter from the Department of Home Affairs allowing us to have that dual citizenship.
Right. So as such, you would really have qualified for a Great Britain passport, United Kingdom passport, a South African passport, and an Australian passport.
That's correct. I had all three passports. My Great Britain passport had expired. I hadn't renewed it, but when I handed my passports over, I had a British passport, which had expired, but my South African and my Australian passport were still valid.
Okay. Now, at some stage, you moved back to South Africa. Roughly when was that?
Round about end of 1996, 1997 or 1996. I cannot recall the year
Okay, no,
exactly.
not terribly important. And when you came back to South Africa, first of all, why did you come back? And secondly, what did you do?
I came back to South Africa because I missed my home. I missed my friends. I enjoyed living in Australia, but it never felt like home for me. So I wanted to come back home.
And what did your late wife feel about that?
She was initially very reluctant. Obviously, her family were there, and they were a very close family. But she could see that I wasn't entirely happy in Australia. My brother-in-law, Peter Norton, had also moved back to South Africa. So we just decided collectively, Susan and I, that we would be moving back to South Africa.
And just for the record, your brother-in-law, Peter Norton, is married to your late wife's sister.
That's correct. Married to Angela.
Right. And when you came back to South Africa, did you get employment? Did you work?
Yes, I did. I worked initially with my father. He was in the travel business for a while, but in conjunction with that, I started going back into the property business, where Susan and I were buying properties, renting them out, renovating them. So it was a combination of the two.
Did you at any stage establish your own business?
Not in early 2000s, I established my own business. What I initially did in 1999, I joined a real estate company situated in Fourways in Johannesburg, where I was the manager of that business. And in 2002, myself and two other partners established our own real estate brokerage.
And that was called?
That was called Glasshouse Realty.
Right. And did that succeed? Was that a successful business?
Yes, it was a very successful business. In a very short period of time, we did very, very well. So yes, it was a successful business.
And did you carry on with that business?
We did carry on with that business. In 2005, I decided that looking forward strategically, it would be better for us if we joined with a large branded group. So in that regard, I approached Mr. Lou Geffen, who is the chairman of Sotheby's International Realty. And after lengthy discussions and negotiations, we concluded an agreement whereby Mr. Geffen would acquire 25% of our business, and in return, we would be given the sole geographical right for that particular area, for what we term the Johannesburg North area. So for all intents and purposes, we became a Sotheby's office for that particular geographical area, with Mr. Geffen as a 25% partner.
And how did your involvement with Mr. Geffen develop into the future after that?
For the first couple of years, I ran the business. As I said, we were very fortunate. We were very fortunate in the personnel that we had. The business did well. And we had a very, very good relationship, a very sound relationship, a very honest, open working relationship between the parties. And
did you get any more involved with Sotheby's?
I was for all intents and purposes, the MD of our division, the Joburg North. But sometime in 2009, the acting CEO of the Geffen International Realty Franchises, which is the holding company for Sotheby's International Realty in South Africa, he left his position, and Mr. Geffen approached me to consider taking up the position as Chief Executive Officer for Sotheby's or Geffen International Realty Franchises in Southern Africa.
And did you accept that post?
Yes, I did accept that post.
Did that end your involvement in the Fourways franchise?
To a large extent, it did end my involvement. I would still have a hands-on role in the Fourways office in the sense that I still manage the finances of that particular office, but that could be done digitally or electronically. So I was very hands-on from a financial perspective from that office, but I wasn't involved on a day-to-day operational basis within the Fourways office.
Right. And am I correct that you remained the CEO of Geffen International Realty Sotheby's until the time of your wife's death?
That is correct, yes.
And how did your tenure as chief executive officer go? I mean, would you describe it as moderate, average, very successful? Give us an idea.
Well, being a chief executive of a large company is not an easy job. There's a lot of responsibility. But if you have to ask me how it went well. But like any business, we had our ups and we had our downs. But if I look over a track record, we were fortunate in the sense that, once again, we surrounded ourselves with very competent people. And the business, every year we made our targets and we grew the business in very trying times.
Now, you mentioned having married your late wife, Susan, shortly before you left for Australia. And that was in, I think, at the end of 1993.
That is correct.
Give us some idea, please, of her and her background.
Susan was born in Middelburg.
Is that Middelburg Cape or Middelburg Transvaal?
Middelburg, Gauteng.
Gauteng, yeah.
She was born in Middelburg. She attended Bryanston High School. She was an exceptional athlete. 20 years after she left the school, she was still holding some of the running records. In her grade 10 or 11 year, I'm not quite sure, her parents had been posted to New Jersey, United States, and then she followed them and she finished her high school in the United States.
Yes.
From there, she went to college where she did I'm not quite sure what the term was, some type of undergrad psychology diploma or degree.
And no doubt she then at some stage after that returned to South Africa with her parents.
She didn't actually return with her parents. She returned on holiday. Her and her sister returned on holiday. And while she was on holiday, she met me. So that would have been in the end of 1989.
Okay.
And Angela, her sister, wanted to stay because she had already met Peter Norton, her now husband. And Susan decided to stay. So Neville Dye purchased a small apartment for Angela and Sue where they could live in South Africa.
Where was that, in Johannesburg?
That was in Bryanston in Johannesburg.
Okay. Now, you married her in 1993. Now, lady, I'm now going to just deal briefly with the children in the marriage. Tell us about
Okay, while they talk about that, Steve, what I was busy typing is, so jury of your peers would be very difficult here because you'd have to discriminate in choosing the jury. We still have a lot of divisions from apartheid, and also there's a lot of also I can't sit because Phoebe's here. There's a lot of presumed innocence as well as guilt. So, for example, you see someone like this, Jason Roeder, he was very well known. He has a lot of money. He's very privileged. People are going to look at him and go, oh, he must be innocent. Someone like that wouldn't do something like that, right? Same with Oscar. He's such a hero, Paralympian, great guy, does charity things. Someone who looks like that wouldn't do something like that. And then you've got the bias from apartheid of, okay, somebody who doesn't look like that is presumed to be guilty. And yes, OJ is a very good example. They had him, one trial was majority black, one trial was majority white. Look at the different findings. Now add on apartheid, and that is like fueled 1,000. And then that and not understanding jury instructions.
It was in many ways, but we were also very similar in other ways.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, Susan was an absolute perfectionist. In everything she did, she was, if she set her mind to something, she was completely committed to that purpose. She would be completely single-minded in whatever she wanted to achieve in life. And unfortunately, I never had that same type of drive or dedication. So in that way, we were polar opposites. The way we dealt with various issues was also completely different. I tend to shy away from confrontation. Susan was a type of person that if she believed there was a problem, she had to get to the bottom of that problem.
Deal with it.
To deal with that problem, whereas I wanted to look the other way most of the time and try and avoid things, hoping that they were going to go away.
Just as an aside, in terms of discipline towards your children, were you two very unanimous in your approach, or were you very different in your approach?
No, we were completely different. I certainly wasn't a disciplinarian within the house. My children always knew that they could get what they wanted from me, whereas Susan was the exact opposite of that. She was the complete disciplinarian in the house. That's not to say I couldn't get cross with my children. I certainly could, but I would always tend to give in, where Susan would stand on her principle on certain issues.
Right. Now, socially speaking, socializing, how did you and Susan feature in that field? I mean, you obviously must have had an ability to deal with people as an MD.
Yes, I think on a social level, we both were very open to people. Susan had a wide variety of friends, a cross-section of friends. She had very good friends. I had a smaller group of friends. A lot of my friends go back to my school days and some of my close work colleagues, where Susan had a very wide group of friends, stretching from some of her friends going back to school to a lot of the friends she had made via our children when they were growing up, to the parents that you meet when your children are at high school. So she had a far wider cross-section of friends than I did.
And up till the time of her death, from a financial point of view, where did you and she stand in the sort of social hierarchy? Were you very well off? Did you spend a lot of money? Did you was it a very material relationship? Can you give us an idea?
I wouldn't say that we were not always financially very comfortable. When we got married, we had no money whatsoever. When we immigrated to Australia, we had no money whatsoever, and we had to build what we had from scratch. So it wasn't as if we ever inherited money or were given money. So I guess the best way to describe it is that we were financially comfortable. We weren't extravagant people. We lived in a nice house and we could afford nice things, but we didn't buy expensive jewelry or personally speaking, I don't think we were flashy people, but that's not to say we weren't financially comfortable. I had a job that remunerated me relatively well, so that allowed us a certain degree of financial freedom. To be honest with you, we spent most of our money educating our children at the private schools.
Yeah. Let me just end my discussion of your marriage relationship with reference to the period up till and including 2015. Okay. What was the relationship between you and your wife in terms of conflict, possible abuse, I mean now verbal abuse, or physical abuse? Describe your relationship in those terms.
We had our ups and downs like any marriage would have. We could get into some awful verbal altercations with each other. I was as much to blame as Susan, so I'm not saying that I wasn't. I could be as bad verbally to Susan as she was to me, but never once ever did I ever physically attack, strangle, strike my wife, ever. As I said, I could be very verbally abusive when I lost my temper and I got cross, but I never, ever, once ever lifted a hand to my wife.
And just as a matter of interest, did she ever lift a hand to you?
She never lifted a hand to me, but the way of Susan dealing with issues was that if we had a confrontation or a disagreement, she would, if we were at home, for instance, we would try not to argue in front of the children. We would go to our bedroom or go to the lounge somewhere, and she wouldn't let you go until the argument. Well, there were two. I had two choices. Either I agreed, and I agreed. Very often, I'd either say sorry, or I would agree to Susan's side of the discussion, or I would leave. As a person, I don't like confrontation, not only in my marriage, but generally as a rule, I don't like confrontation. I try and avoid it, and it's just, anyone who knows me will tell you that I just don't like it.
And up to that period, was your relationship a placid one with the odd outburst, or was it generally a very stormy relationship?
We would go through periods where we could have months where it would be fine, and then for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's just the ebb and flow of marriage, I'm not sure why, but we would go through a very stormy patch in our relationship. I can't tell you why that would be.
What sort of things did you fight about?
We fought a lot about our children. I thought sometimes that Sue was pushing our kids a little bit hard, my one daughter in particular, and we often had disagreements about that. And then other times it was just silly, mundane things that start small and then escalate into a major row about something which shouldn't have been a row. Susan, she liked to be able to have everything in set boxes in her life, and when I would step out of that parameter, so to speak, there would be a confrontation. So if you thought maybe that if I went out for a drink and I came home a bit late, there would be an argument about that. If you smelled smoke on me, I used to smoke sometimes and wash up. She didn't like me smoking. So if she smelled smoke on me, she didn't like that. So it was small, mundane little issues that tended to blow out. We'd been for marriage counseling about 13 years prior, maybe 10 or 13 years prior to that. We were drifting apart, and Susan arranged the marriage counseling for us, and we went to marriage counseling, and we also did some sessions, some group sessions, which were meant to bring you closer together.
And was that therapy successful at the time?
I think it was, in the sense that I would see it for what it was, and maybe reflect on myself and say maybe I need to change. But if you're asking me, did we have, over our 23-year period, did we have a good marriage? I would say we did have a good marriage. We had our ups and our downs and our rockiness, but I can't stand here and tell you that I had a bad 23 years of marriage.
Physically, how did the two of you shape up to each other? Let me put it to you this way. How tall are you?
I think I'm 176.
1.76 m. And how tall was Susan?
Susan would have been about a centimeter or two shorter than me. So I put her about 174, I think.
And fitness-wise, were you very sporty and gymmy and that sort of thing?
I attended gym, yes. I did the half Ironman when I was 40 years old. But compared to Susan, no, Susan was a complete fitness fanatic. She watched what she ate. She could run. She was running 3-4 times a week. She attended gym on a regular basis. She had her own gym instructor. We had weights at home. She was very, very conscious of being fit and physically strong. And it wasn't just in later years of life. That's how she was from an early age. As long as I know her, she was very active.
Very fitness conscious.
Yes.
And strength-wise?
Susan was she was very fit. She was very strong. She for a lady, she was a very strong person.
What was her age when she died?
She was 47 years old.
And your age when she died?
47.
So you were the same age?
2 months older than her.
Health-wise, what was your health like during your marriage? Were you a healthy person? Don't need any terrible details.
No, I'm a healthy person. I suffered once from kidney stones and I snapped my Achilles, but I'm a healthy person.
And Susan, was she a healthy person?
Susan was an exceptionally healthy person. I can't remember her ever lying in bed being sick.
Now we have it on record that she was a person who bruised extremely easily. Can you tell us about that, please?
I can't really comment on that other than just to reiterate what you said. I mean, it was anybody in the family who knew Susan knew that if she just knocked herself on the side of this table here, she would get a bruise. She bruised very easily. She always had bruises because she was always gymming and being very active, and she bruised particularly easy.
Okay.
And that was known throughout her whole family. I mean, it was a standard joke the way Susan, not a joke, but it was a common, everybody knew.
Now, in the course of 2015, let me go back one. Do you know Mrs. Jolene Altaskaya?
Yes, I do.
When did you meet her for the first time?
I met Jolene for the first time, it would have been around about 2013. I would have met her for the first time. She was working as a real estate agent for one of the Cape Town offices.
Yes. Can you elaborate on your relationship with her, please?
When I initially met her, or
yes, well,
when I initially met her in 2013, she was one of the hundreds of real estate brokers that we employed within the Sotheby's group. But in 2015, at the end of 2015, in June 2015, the end of June 2015, I had an occasion to attend a function. Well, it was more of a large dinner at a particular restaurant where Jolene was present there that evening, and I could say that is when I realized that I was attracted to Jolene.
Right. And what was it that made you realize that?
I can't pinpoint one variable to another. It's just that all I can say is that I felt physically attracted to Jolene at that particular evening.
Okay. And did anything come of that?
No, it didn't.
Did a relationship at any stage then develop between you and her?
Yes, it did.
Tell us about that in detail, please.
So soon after that evening, at the end of June of 2015, I messaged Jolene. I messaged her obviously via my cell phone, and I then attended Cape Town. I'm not sure how long after that, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later after that, on a business trip where I invited her out for a drink, and we had a drink that evening when I was in Cape Town.
Just the two of you?
That's correct.
Right. And I take it that's from then your relationship developed?
Our relationship developed on a physical level from, I could be wrong, either September or October of 2015. I'm not quite sure of the date, but on a physical level, it was either September or October of 2015. That's correct.
And you're talking now about an intimate physical relationship?
An intimate physical relationship, that's correct.
And I take it that you had liaisons with her at various places and on various occasions?
That is correct, yes.
And no doubt you found as many excuses as you could find to visit Cape Town in that time?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, did your wife know about this?
No, she didn't know at all about it.
Not that you're aware.
Had she known about it, she would have confronted me. So I could be wrong, but I doubt very much that she was aware of it.
And how long did this relationship continue with Mrs. Alterskamp?
The relationship continued up until the stage on the, I believe it was the 27th of February, where I had been to Cape Town. The 27th was a Saturday, I believe, and I'd been to Cape Town and I got back on a Friday, and I had my bag with me, which I had traveled with. I used to have a carry-on bag, a pink carry-on bag, which I traveled with, and I had a Valentine's card in that bag, and Susan had unpacked that bag and found that Valentine's card in that bag.
Did you know it was there?
No, I wasn't aware it was there.
And who had put it there?
Jolene had put it there, obviously to surprise me, but I wasn't aware that that card was in that bag.
So she put the Valentine's card in your bag so that you would be pleasantly surprised when you unpacked your bag.
That's correct.
And instead your wife unpacked the bag.
That's right. 2016. 2016.
So, and this is an interesting. Was it an anonymous card, or did it say anything particularly suggestive?
It wasn't addressed from Jolene, but it was. I can't remember the exact wording of the card, but it was obvious to anybody that it wasn't a. How do I put this? It wasn't a secret Valentine's card. It was obviously coming from somebody who had intimate knowledge of me.
Right. You can't recall what it said.
I don't remember what the actual wording was exactly, but the wording was such that it was clear to Susan that the card was meant for me as opposed to somebody giving it to me anonymously.
Okay. And what was your wife's reaction?
She confronted me with a card. I remember I was in the study. I was doing some work in the study, and she confronted me with the card. And my initial reaction was I was obviously shocked and I was scared, and I tried to deny it, saying, "Oh, it's a anonymous card that I got." But after 20 minutes, half an hour, I realized that there was no point in denying it because I'd been caught, and I had to face the consequences. Correct.
And what were those consequences? Tell us all about the period from then onwards with you and your wife. What did she do? What did she say? What did you do? What did you say?
Well, on that morning, I remember Susan just went absolutely berserk. She was screaming, she was shouting. Obviously, I can understand. She was very, very upset. She couldn't believe that I would have done this to her after all these years. So I remember we went into the bathroom so the kids wouldn't hear us, and we closed the bathroom door, and we took my phone and we put it on speakerphone, and then she asked me to phone Jolene.
Did she ask you, or did she compel you to? Or order you to?
Well, she told me to phone Jolene, which I did. Because I admitted it was from Jolene. I initially had denied that it was from somebody, and then I admitted and I told her exactly who it was. No, she wasn't. No. So we went into the bathroom and Susan said I must phone Jolene. So I phoned Jolene, it was on speakerphone, and I said to Jolene, Susan's here with me, and Susan's found the card, and I'm telling you that I cannot continue our relationship, and that I won't be contacting you anymore, and you mustn't contact me either. So it was a very short conversation that we had.
Did you decide what to say to her, or were you told what to say?
No, Susan had told me what I must say, and she wanted to hear it. That's why it was on speakerphone. She wanted to hear it for herself, what was being said.
Right.
And then, so that was a pretty short conversation.
And what did Mrs. Ottoscar say? Did she?
She accepted it. She was obviously taken back that I'd made this phone call, but I think she could understand. I don't know if she knew or she was on speakerphone or not. I'm not sure, but I think she could understand the circumstances of what had happened.
Yes. Did you receive any communications from her?
Yes. And I don't know if it was that day or the next day, but I got a message from Jolene to say that she'd like to send me a letter, and could she send it? And at that time, Susan was keeping my phone. She was holding onto my phone, so I never had access to my phone. And Susan replied, yes, send it. And
As
Jolene...
if she were you.
Correct.
Right.
And Jolene sent a 3 or 4 page handwritten letter to me, which I received, and then Susan took that letter, read it, and then forwarded it to her phone and printed the letter out. And in fact, that is the letter that was found in my briefcase by Sergeant Apollos. Susan told me that I had to keep the letter on me at all times to remind me of just how dishonest I've been, and then she had made notes on the letter of questions that she had that she wanted me to answer.
You mentioned the word dishonest. How would you describe your conduct in terms of your marriage relationship and the fidelity that is associated with that or expected?
My conduct is deceitful, shameful. When you're an adulterer, you live a double life. You're lying all the time. You are covering up after your tracks. You are ducking and diving. It goes hand in hand with being an adulterer.
How do you feel about your conduct?
My conduct has had it's ripped my family apart. It's devastated my family, and I know that if it wasn't for my disgusting behavior, Susan would still be alive today.
Other than communicating, as you've indicated, with Jolene Ottoscar via your mobile phone, what other conduct did your late wife demonstrate after catching you out in this relationship?
What happened after I was caught was Susan she was so devastated from my deceitfulness and from my lying and my dishonesty, and that I can't put it into words, but it just consumed her. It just absolutely consumed Susan. And that she wouldn't sleep, she wouldn't eat, every single thing, she would go back into my diary and I'd have to explain everything to her. Every time she would phone me anywhere between 5 to 15 times a day. When I got home, I had to hand my phone in to Susan. It just absolutely consumed her. She wanted to know everything about Jolene, I know she was always on the Facebook looking at Jolene and looking at Jolene's family, and it was just we would have hours where it was fine, and then it would go from being fine, and then she would just completely explode again, and then it would be quietened down, and then completely explode again. It was just and the more Susan did that, the more I felt myself pulling away from her. It was like I knew that I knew that it was a time that I should be embracing her, but I actually felt myself pulling away from her, withdrawing from her, being emotionally distant from her.
Did she at any stage question you about matters relating to Jolene, such as where you've gone with her, what you've done with her, and that sort of thing?
Every single day I would, it was every single day it was, that's how we woke up and that's how we went to bed, talking about Jolene. It was just, she just couldn't get her head around how deceitful I had been to her.
Did she ever visit or speak to Jolene that you know?
I know that she had phoned Jolene. I'm not sure of the content of the discussions. And I think she might have sent Jolene a message as well. But I'm not sure of the content of that.
As I understand it, at all relevant times, Jolene was based in Cape Town.
That's correct, yes.
Did your late wife ever visit Cape Town in connection with this affair of yours?
Yes, she did. A day or two after I was caught with the Valentine's card, I remember I was at Tasha's having a breakfast meeting, and I got 2 or 3 missed calls from Susan, and I answered my phone, and she told me that she was driving to Cape Town to Joburg International Airport, and she was climbing on a plane, and she was flying down there, and she was going to go and confront Jolene in her office.
And what was your response?
I was terrified, to be honest. I from a purely selfish perspective, I just pictured Susan walking into our offices and having this physical confrontation with Jolene in our office, and the repercussions, you know, from a company perspective, would have been very, very embarrassing for me.
And did she, in fact,
And if I may report back, the recording is really faint, but we will be able, should it be necessary, to correct it with a double recording. But what we have also what we've done was to move a microphone to the vicinity of the door that would, I believe, address that issue.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, my lady. Colonel, just before the adjournment, you explained the basis why you testified that the shots were fired first and then it was a cricket bat hitting the door. And you specifically referred to the crack that ran down and into the hole and then down at a different place.
That's correct, my lady. And I just quickly draw this little diagram here on this piece of paper to show you what I'm referring to. If you look at the bullet hole on the furthest to the right, I hope it's visible from there, but there's a crack coming into the bullet hole, or a piece of wood that broke, and the breakage was into the bullet hole on the right-hand side of the bullet hole. And then the crack goes out on the left-hand side of the bullet hole. And that is why I said the bullet hole was there before the panel was broken. Because if it was the other way around, the crack would have been in a straight line. Because it happened like this because of the bullet hole, that the crack going down initiated in a different position.
And I think that once you've done the rough sketch, but I think it should go in as an exhibit, otherwise the record would reflect a piece of paper. My lady, maybe if we mark it as exhibit Y, we will see that copies be made. It can be handed up.
Exhibit?
Z, my lady.
Z, yes.
Colonel, you can make. I can tell you that the expert on behalf of the defense fully agrees. He says that one of the many features that will show convincingly that it was first the shooting and then the hitting with the bat and the breaking of the door. That would be your evidence as well.
That specific crack, yes, was after the firing of the bullets took place.
I'm sorry to go back to some extent, and it was just because the recording was really faint, because you moved away. Tell me if I fairly summarize some of your evidence. Your evidence was that you're of the view that you can replicate the cricket bat marks on the door when standing, but your objection to that would be that you did not deem that to be the expected and natural position.
That's correct, my lady. That's what I said.
What is, and I'm fortunately not female, so I can ask you just to draw a comparison between the physique of the accused and you. What is your length?
As I said earlier, I'm 1.79 meters tall, my lady.
And your weight?
Fortunately, I'm not a lady, so I do not weigh myself often, my lady. But I expect it to be around about 90, 95, maybe 96 kilograms.
Yeah, will you agree you have a very different physique to that of the accused?
Indeed, my lady, as I look at him, he's a bit taller than me, and he's got a little bit less weight carrying around with him.
Now, Colonel, I see in the statement that we have in our possession by Lieutenant Colonel Lenong, I see the wooden splinters of the door in photos 6 and 7. I would just ask the state's assistance. I'm not too sure that those photographs were handed in as exhibits as well. It might perhaps be on. Lady, what I propose with the undertaking again, that I will show, it's just to show photo, and I will show it to the court, and we will see that copies be made and it be officially handed up, just not to waste time. It's not about this statement, it's just for the 2 photos, if you would not care to look at that. And you'll see a lab number there that will maybe assist you. Because I was asking you earlier about the whereabouts of the missing pieces, and there we can see them. You see that?
I see there's pieces of wood there, yes, my lady.
But you care just to, and to the court to be seen, we will see that an exhibit, it would be AA. We will make copies of that. Okay. Of 2 photos in Colonel Lenong's statement dealing with the pieces of the splinters. But my understanding of the evidence is that you did not have access to that.
No, my lady, this is the first time that I see these pictures. It's the first time I see the splinters, or the pieces of wood, call it splinters, whatever.
Colonel Lenong, where is he stationed?
He's also working at the Forensic Science Laboratory. He's, however, in a different section. He's working in the trace analysis section. It's also part of the bigger scientific analysis section, but we do different subsections.
And it must be just unfortunate that you did not get those pieces, because my understanding it would have assisted.
Well, as I said, it's the first time that I see it now in this picture. I did not speak to Mr. Lenong regarding his analysis, so I do not have any knowledge about what he received.
And you also said that you asked about the whereabouts, but could not get any answer that would cast light on this.
Yes, but I must state that I did not speak to Mr. Lenong because I did not know that he might be a source of information.
I want to, if I may ask the state's assistance on the photos, to go to photo 480. Not that album. It's photo 480. It's part of your report.
That's correct, my lady.
You have the photo there in front of you.
Yes, I do have.
We just waited it on screen. What do you see on that photo?
My lady, on this photo, I see the door. I see the markers on the door, the cricket bat, the angle I suspected to be, or that I matched to the door with, as well as I think this was Mr. Mangena.
You can go on.
Oh, there's some pieces of wood next to that.
You see the pieces of wood?
I see it now, yes, my lady.
So you had them?
No, I didn't have them.
Well, you're not there at the scene.
I was here at the scene. I didn't pay attention to that. And I actually didn't see it. I must have overlooked it, my lady.
But it's right next to the door.
Yeah, it's not next to the door. You can see there's the door is standing against some shelves. And if I look at this picture, at the time of my investigation, I did not see them, my lady.
Well, let us look at this on this photo. We know that you assisted in assembling the door.
That's correct, my lady.
We know right next to the door we have the, let me call them the missing pieces of wood splinters.
That's correct, my lady.
And you say to this court, and it's right next to the door, that whole day you did not see them.
That's correct, my lady. I did not see those pieces of wood. Otherwise, I would have looked at them.
How did the door come to you on that?
It didn't come to me, my lady. I was informed by Captain Mangena that he was busy with the investigation and that the door would be available to me in the basement where he was busy with the investigation, and I went down to see him. So the door didn't come to me.
When you arrived there, what did you do? Did you help to assemble the door?
As far as I can remember, the door was already in this position, my lady.
So they assembled the door for you?
I don't know who they were, but yeah, whoever.
You were not involved in that?
Not in disassembling, no, my lady.
And you just so happen not to see the wooden splinters there?
Yeah, well, that was an oversight of myself, my lady. As I said, if I look at the picture here, it seems like the plastic, well, if it's a plastic, it was between the shelves, and I did not pay attention to that stuff because there were other stuff in the room as well, which I did not pay attention to.
We're talking specifically about a crucial piece of evidence, the door. So we're not talking about other stuff. We talk right next to the door, the pieces.
My lady, I can only comment I have about this. I did not mention, or I did not see the pieces there.
And when you went through your report, because that's part of your report, did you look at the photos?
I did look at the photos, but the important thing for me was the angle of the bat in this photograph, my lady.
I understand. Every time looking at the photos, you did not see the pieces of wood, splinters?
No, my lady.
You will agree by just looking at the photo, it's not difficult to see it.
Well, now it's it's obvious if you know it's there.
Yes. When did you go to the scene for the first time?
The first and only time I went to the scene, my lady, was on the 8th of March, 2013, if I'm correct, and I will just confirm it in my affidavit. Yes, it was the 8th of March, my lady.
We'll come back to your evidence that you went back to the scene on the 8th and also to some documents, a revisit of the scene. You say you weren't at the scene before the 8th of March?
No, my lady, the 8th of March of 2013.
13, I mean.
Yeah, that was the only time I visited the scene, my lady.
You were also asked, if I look at documents, to test any material on the door. Is that so?
Is that pertaining to the...
Just the door, yeah. For materials analysis. What does that mean, materials analysis?
Materials analysis is our section. I'm working in the materials analysis section.
Yes. On that door, we'll ask you to go to the door. There is a microphone, and if you will, please, Colonel, if you speak, would you mind to speak in the direction of a ladyship?
I will do so.
And try, I'm sorry to ask you that, to speak up in a little bit. You see a mark, you see where the handle is? And when you go down, there's a distinct mark. Yes, you're pointing to that distinct mark. Have you investigated that?
My lady, I did indeed look at that mark, but I could not find anything that convinced me that that mark was due to the cricket bat, and that the cricket bat actually caused that mark. And I've testified to this already in my...
You solely focused on a cricket bat?
The request at that stage was for me to focus on the cricket bat to determine whether any marks on the door could be linked back to the cricket bat, my lady.
Of course, on behalf of Mr. Pistorius, we will present evidence that that mark was caused by the prosthesis kicking that door or making contact with that door. And the fabric of the sock was in fact still embedded and found, and varnish of the door on the prosthesis.
On the prosthesis. As I said, my lady, I could not link it to the cricket bat, so that's why I only elaborated on the first two marks that we spoke about this morning.
Now, is it significant to you that there's a mark caused by the prosthesis, and we say to you, kicking on that door, kicking by Mr. Pistorius?
My lady, if that is indeed true, that it's a mark caused by the prosthesis, I guess it is significant, but it was not investigated by myself. We must also remember that the pieces of the panel were ripped out in the process of breaking open the door. So that mark on the panel could just as well have originated from him walking over that piece of panel when he was trying to get Ms. Reeva Steenkamp out of the...
Do you seriously contend that mark can be caused by walking?
My lady, walking, it was kind of a Deermekaar situation in the bathroom there. I can imagine him trying to get Ms. Steenkamp out of the bathroom was not an easy job. And if he had his legs on, he could have fallen over the piece or whatever. And we are speculating now. So I'm just trying by speculating. I'm just trying to show that the fact that Mr. Pistorius says he kicked the door is not the only possible reason for that mark appearing on the door.
I'm trying to understand when I tell you that's the evidence on behalf of the defense. It is the fabric was tested, the wood was tested, the prosthesis was tested. They all match.
If that is the case, my lady, I can imagine that there were transfer of exhibits from the prosthesis onto the door at some stage. But when, I would not be able to say exactly when it happened.
And of course, it would not make sense, and I mean well when I put the question, to kick the plank when it's lying on the floor.
My lady, kicking, he could have stumbled over the plank. We must remember he testified in his version of the events. He picked Ms. Steenkamp up and he carried her down from the bathroom down to the foyer. So he could have stumbled over the plank. You can imagine, and again, this is speculation, but it's just to give some light on a possibility. The planks were laying, the pieces of wood were lying on the floor there in the bathroom, and him trying to pick up Ms. Steenkamp, he could have stumbled over it. So that's just another version. I don't say he didn't kick it, but what I'm saying is that the kicking is not the only possible source of that.
Let's look at stumbling. There's a plank on the floor, I stumble over it. I'm trying to understand how that stumbling over it could make an indentation in the wood, in Maranti. We'll bring a plank and we'll ask you to stumble 100 times over it, and I will say there will be no mark.
Okay, and 100 times the indentation would be the same as that, because it's not actually indentation. I described it this morning as a seems like two pieces of whatever objects grabbed or were forced against each other, but it's not actually an indentation that similar to what a cricket bat would have caused.
Can I ask you a favor? Will you go and take a plank and stumble over it and bring it back and come back in evidence and show me a mark that can replicate it? Will you do it afterwards? And we can do it under controlled circumstances, because I tell you it cannot be.
Well,
I see you laughing, and I think it's
when you kick that door, my lady, there's a certain amount of force applied to the door. When I carry someone and it's heavy and I stumble over and I kick the plank with my toe or the heel or whatever, stumbling over it, tripping over it, what do you want to call it? You can very easily get the same amount of force applied to the piece of wood than what the instance would have been.
But of course, if it was kicked in that position, it will tell you one thing. It's a process trying to open the door.
If that is the testimony, and if it can be proven that he was actually wearing his prosthesis and that he was kicking it, it's possible. What I think what also must be tested would be to see what the abilities is for Mr. Pistorius. I would not be able to testify on how he can lift his leg, the exact movements he can make with his legs. But I agree, if it can be proven that it was kicked and he can reach that high, it's fine.
What does it then mean in that case?
It means in that case, the only thing that I can deduct from that, and if it's proven that there's material similar to the prosthesis on the door there, to me, it means there was contact between the prosthesis and the door or the plank, and some transfer took place. That is what it means to me. Because nowhere is there any evidence to me at this stage that can confirm that he actually kicked the door, except for his version of the.
I'm working on his version. I don't ask you to accept it unconditionally, but you would only kick the door when you want to break through the door. You want to get into the toilet. Otherwise, there's no need to kick it. Not so?
I guess so.
Yes.
But you will also only stumble over the door or the piece of wood if it lies on the floor.
Yes, we've dealt with the stumbling. Now, I'm trying to find out. The state had the prosthesis, the prosthetic legs. The state had the socks, the markers on the door. Was anyone asked to investigate that? And who would that have been?
My lady, as far as I'm concerned, no one was asked to investigate the possibility of the door being kicked down. I did receive the prosthetic legs at my section. I was asked to look at a mark on the shin of the one prosthetic leg to try and determine what the cause of that damage to the prosthetic leg was. I could not determine the cause of that, and I suspect that it was not a recent mark; it was an old mark. But nowhere, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, where anyone requested to do analysis to link the prosthetic legs with kicking down of the door.
I'm trying to understand the police and investigation. You see marks on a door. Would someone not be asked from the forensics department to look at those marks and try and find if they can be given any explanation for them? I just need to know how it works.
Are we talking about this specific mark?
Marks in general.
Marks in general.
Marks in general. Thank you, my lady.
My lady, usually the investigating officer or whoever is doing the crime scene investigation, the exhibit submitted to the laboratory would be to determine something. They must be able to prove something with a request to the laboratory, and it can very easily happen that there might be some oversight or whatever reason that the guy who collected the evidence on the scene did not think about that, did not request the specific evidence, or it was not important for him. It was not important, and he didn't at that stage think that it would add value to the investigation. So that's a possibility. That's I don't say that it happened in this case. I see it. That's just a possibility on why things can be overlooked.
You see why I'm asking you that, Colonel? In the bail application, in an affidavit, Mr. Pistorius said inter alia the following in paragraph 1615. I put on my prosthetic legs, ran back to the bathroom, and tried to kick the toilet door open. Goes down, then on when he couldn't come right, and he grabbed the cricket bat and bashed it open. So it's not that the police was unaware of this version.
My lady, I cannot comment on who was aware of that. I was not aware of that version of Mr. Pistorius.
You're not at any time look at the bail affidavit to get an idea what the version of Mr. Pistorius would be?
My lady, I can say unequivocally, the first time I saw the version of Mr. Pistorius was sometime during last week up in the chambers here. That was the first time that I physically saw Mr. Pistorius' version. I was not privy to that information.
How did that happen, that you saw that version?
It was in general discussion there, and that file was there, and I said, "Oh, is this Mr. Pistorius' version?" And I read through it.
I'm trying to understand that because it is important, because we have ballistic experts, we have a door with markings on. Anyone else from ballistics present, from the forensic department?
I cannot remember who was it was during one lunchtime, I think, and I can't remember exactly who was present. People come in and go out. And
any name from the forensic department?
Well, Captain Mangena and Colonel van der Nest and myself, we were in and out and around each other past week.
I'm interested in the part that you were favored, only then you say, with the version in the bail application. How did that come about?
Because as I said, I saw the file there with the version of the bail application, and that was the first time that I actually looked at it.
How did it happen that you saw the file? Was it just open at that place?
Yes, they're on the desk, and I saw it there, my lady.
Was it open at a specific?
Obviously, that had to be open there. Yeah. I said obviously that had to be open if I saw it there.
Yes, I understand that. Was it open at the version given by Mr. Pistorius, or did you have to page through it?
No, it was open at the version. I did not page through it. I just walked past it and it was there on the table. It was open.
You just happened to see it?
I just happened to see it.
And then what did you do with it? Did you read it?
I just scanned through it, and I didn't sit there and study the version exactly. Because my lady must also understand that the state is just as much, well, from my view, we are just as much in service of the accused as the defense is. Our objective, and my objective specifically, is to look at the situation and to be absolutely objective. I did not want to be, and I'm not unhappy that I didn't see the version of Mr. Pistorius, because I didn't want to have my view determined by some external factors. So my investigation is, I mean, all the investigations I do, I try to be as objective as possible, look at the evidence to my disposal, and make scientific conclusions from that without favoring one side or the other.
Precisely. Now, as ballistic forensic experts, you see this version, you know that there's some examination of marks on the door, there is this objectivity, and one thing you did not consider, no one else there, was to say, well, if he said that he kicked the door and he had his legs on and we know it's a hard object, maybe let's look at the door and see if we can be objective and find evidence in favor of the accused to confirm his version. Did that go through your mind?
My lady, at that stage, my investigation was already completed several months ago. I did not, at this stage, reopen an investigation. I definitely did not do an investigation upstairs on new information to my disposal. I came to court to present what I did.
But why not, Colonel? You're objective. You see there's something, you think, well, we can look at it. It's not too late. We don't need months and months and weeks. Let us go back to the door and let's check, and maybe we can assist the accused and find something that would corroborate his version. Or is the approach rather, well, I've done my investigation and that's it.
My lady, I decided not to continue the investigation on that, and still to this date, I haven't read through the whole version of Mr. Pistorius. I just scanned the page or two that was on top there.
So you decided then not to.
I decided that I'm not gonna bother with the version. It will be presented in court, and then the court can decide on further matters.
To use your words, I'm not going to bother with his version. That's what you say.
Because it would not change my investigation that I did 6 or 8 months ago, my lady.
Colonel, if you would be so kind, I've handed to you a copy of Colonel Lalonde's statement. You can just hand it back to me. My lady, I again repeat, we will make that available to you. It's just not to waste time. I want to show you, may I just for present purpose just delete the note, because we will show the court in the meantime, and I do not want, it's just. Colonel, photo 11 in the same Colonel Lalonde's affidavit. Look at it carefully, and then I'm going to ask you to hand it to the court. We will also, my lady, see that photo will also be made available to you, which will then mark as Exhibit BB. We will mark it accordingly. If I may just place it before you in the limited sessions, just to have some view of what I'm referring. Have you looked at it carefully?
Yeah, maybe just tell me what you're referring to, then I
the
know
footmarks.
The footmarks, okay.
You see them?
Yeah, I see them. It's actually shoe prints.
Shoe prints, like police shoe prints. I saw somewhere at a port. It's consistent with police shoes.
It looks like it, like a police shoe print.
Yes. So we see police shoe prints. Looks like it, consistent with.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I don't know. I was not on the scene. I don't know when this picture. Well, I guess the picture was taken by Lieutenant Colonel Linong when he did the investigation. He's part of the investigation, but I would not be able to say how that shoe prints came.
And did you see the shoe prints?
No, I did not see. There was faint marks on the door on top at one stage, but not as clear as these ones.
So how did they disappear?
I don't know.
At the back.
I need to know, what is that? I see what are those marks on?
It's consistent with police shoes. That's all you can say.
No. On what? What is the material?
My lady, I apologize. I will do that.
Yes.
That is on a panel of the door.
That's correct, my lady.
If you can show the court maybe more or less which panel it would be. Because you know the door. My apologies, my lady. I should.
It must have been in this region, my lady. If you see the region I indicated there, and it must have been there. If I look at the bullet holes, it must have been in that region there.
Yes. May I have another look again?
Did you just hand it back? Lady, may I follow up with a question to assist you whilst you're looking at it?
Yes.
I did not realize that you would. Colonel, just to assist the court for no other reason. And it's something that you must have seen. It's just to assist the court. The panels were removed from the door and they were lying in the bathroom. You would have seen the photos.
On the photographs,
yes.
They were lying in the bathroom, yes, my lady.
Go to the, just to assist the court.
And this is only my collection from the photos. I was not on.
Of course. We'll get to that later.
Thank you very much.
Can I have that back, please? So that's why we say, amongst other things, Colonel, that please do not understand this, that it is an acceptance by Mr. Pistorius, who said it, defense, that you received the door and the bat in the position they were in on the 14th of February 2013.
My lady, no, I think I must admit, the door and the bat was not exactly in the same condition as it was collected, because it was already handled by several people, transported, whatever.
And the footprint again is just another
The
example.
footprints as well, my lady.
And there was, of course, someone wiping it off, not appreciating police boot footprints on the door. That's what it must be, not so.
That's possible, yes, my
Yes.
lady.
So that's why I asked you right in the beginning about the preservation of the exhibits to see when you became involved. And we're trying to understand what happened between the 14th and the time that you had access to the door.
My lady, I would not be able to comment on that, on the exact exposures the door had, and so I would not be able to comment on that.
Julia, and I know you're not able to comment, but maybe we'll come back to you. Do you know if the door was handed in a safekeeping in a safe, or whether it was kept in the offices of Colonel van Rensburg after the
No, I also don't know about that. I don't know what happened after it was collected from the scene, my lady.
When you received the door, saw it for the first time, in what condition was it?
My lady, as I said, I never received it, but the first time I had access to the door was on the 8th of March, when we attended the scene again, together with some other colleagues. And at that stage, the door was brought up into the bathroom in a body bag, and the panels were loose, which is actually the case if you take out that little strip in the bottom and take out the piece in the back that I installed there just to keep the panels in place. The panels are loose. At least the three pieces, the two pieces on the right hand side, and if I can just show you here. These are the two pieces on the right hand side I'm referring to. This piece is still intact and part of the door. Those were loose, and we, in the process of installing the door, we used some press stick to keep the panels in.
Was that now on the 30th?
No, that was on the 8th of March.
Now, let me ask you about the 8th of March. So it was in what type of bag was it?
It was in a body bag.
Not in bubble wrap?
No, not that I can remember of.
And who was with you when you saw the door in that bag before you took it out?
As I said, my testimony in chief, Captain Mangena brought the door to the scene that morning on the 8th of March, my lady.
And if you could take me through that process now. It's the bag. Who opened the bag?
It was definitely not me. I did not open the bag. The bathroom was quite crowded, my lady. The defense experts were there as well. I cannot exactly remember who took it out of the bag. I assisted with putting in the screws to get the door attached to the door frame. That I can remember. But for the rest, I wouldn't be able to say Mr. Wolmerans or Chris Mangena or whoever did the initial parts.
So you assisted in assembling the door?
I assisted in putting up the door on the door frame, and then I was present when the panels were installed in the door frame.
By using press stick, I think.
By using press stick, my lady.
Was the door then complete?
It was pretty much in the same condition as what it is now, my lady.
But we know now that we see in Colonel Lenong's statement the little pieces. We know on the 30th, we see on your photo when you were there the little pieces. So would it be fair to say that the little pieces must have been there?
My lady, there's pictures taken of that door after we assembled it, and maybe we can just get those pictures of the scene when we investigated there at the house on the screen, and then you will be able to see what the door looked like when I in the bathroom after we assembled it with a press stick.
Of course, we will look at that and ask the assistants of the police to get us that photo. What I'm interested in, there's now a bag, and we know in Colonel Lenong's photos there's a bag with, including the splinters, the little pieces, and we know when the door was assembled on the 30th, we see the little pieces. So what I ask from you is, there in the bathroom at the scene, when that door was assembled, did you or did you not see the little pieces?
My lady, maybe I can just indicate on the door again. One of the pieces this little piece here, right in the right-hand corner. That little piece was there on the scene, and that was part of the reassembling of the door. That I can remember, yes.
I'm talking about the other pieces that would make the door complete, as we saw on the photo when you, on the 30th of April, when you were there, when they were lying next to the door to the left, and as we've seen it in Colonel Lenong's statement, the photo statement.
Maybe
need to know about those
just look at the pictures on the scene, and then everyone's minds will be reminded of it.
In the meantime, whilst he's looking, so sorry to interfere with him, if you can just in the meantime show photo 182. And lady, for the court's benefit, to put this in position, he spoke about a plank lying in the bathroom removed from the door on the floor. That's what it will show. And then I will ask questions about that. 182. Can you identify, look at it carefully, Colonel, and then assist the court, please, to say which part of the door would that be by pointing at the assembled door in court?
My lady, if I'm correct, it's the part furthest to the right.
If you would not
and
mind.
I will point it out to you as well. This part of the panel.
Can you just look carefully and identify it with reference to the bullet hole and go back maybe to the door? And you will see where the door handle would have been.
This bullet hole and the part of the one the furthest to the right is visible on the photograph there, man.
I'm so sorry to do this to you, Colonel, but when you move it away, can you speak up a little bit?
Okay. Can I point to the screen? That is probably probably better. There's two bullet holes, one complete bullet hole and one to the right of it, which is actually for only half a bullet hole. And that is, if
you could go there then to assist the court.
This is the complete bullet hole, and that one would be the one on the picture, which is only.
And it goes then up the plank.
Say again, sir?
It goes up. It shows more of the plank going up higher than the handle.
Yeah.
Yes. I apologize for doing it to you. Can you go to where the handle is and point? And I think the court is at a disadvantage, maybe to see the marks. Could you point the obvious marks on the door? And lady, I'm not sure if you're standing in the way. Yes. Could you maybe stand on the other side? My lady, I'm not sure that you can see from that distance.
I can see that.
Thank you, my lady. You see them?
I see them.
Please show them to me on this plank.
They're not on this plank, my lady.
But they're quite drastic marks, so to speak.
It's quite significant.
Invasive.
Yes. It's quite significant, yes, my lady.
Were they there when you saw the door assembled and helped to assemble them? I think it's on the 8th of March 2013.
If we can just have that photographs on the door, I will be able to say whether it was there or not, my lady.
To assist the members of the police dealing with the photographs, which photographs do you refer to?
The photograph taken on the 8th of March in the bathroom where everyone was.
Of the door?
Yes. And that is the picture I'm looking at, my lady. On this photograph, it doesn't seem like those marks are present on the door.
Do you see there? Let's see what we see. Do you see the shoe print mark still? You see some on the left?
There's a faint shoe print mark. It's not as visible as the ones that.
It's maybe the distance.
As the ones that we see, but I can see them there, yes.
Did you find those craft marks that I've just asked you about?
No, my lady. Those distinct marks is not present on the door which we see there in the photograph.
Now, I'm trying to find out who had possession of the door between the 8th of March that we see that door without those marks and the 30th of April.
My lady, I left the scene before the door was taken down. So I'm not exactly sure who took the door down on the scene on the 8th of March and who took possession of it. I saw the door with Mr. Mangena on the, the 30th of April again. And so I don't know who had it from the time it was taken down in the bathroom until the 30th of April. But I suspect it was Captain Mangena.
Meaning was the door then in possession of the forensics department, whichever branch?
If it was with Mr. Mangena, obviously it would have been in the forensic science laboratory's position.
And how does it work there with the retention of this or the safekeeping of exhibits? What is the process?
My lady, every analyst is responsible for the safekeeping of exhibits if it's in his or her possession. The exhibits must be under lock and key, not so no one can have access to the exhibits and tamper with exhibits and alter exhibits or whatever. A big exhibit like this is obviously gonna be locked in not in a normal gun safe, but in a probably in a room with controlled access or whatever.
But it would be controlled access.
There would be controlled access, either single key bearer or a biometric scanner on a door lock, but there will be controlled access, my lady.
But it tells me then this, that whilst the door was in the safekeeping of the forensic department, it somehow happened to get serious marks on it, which did not exist on the 8th of March, 2015.
From this, it appears like that something happened to the door after the 8th of March, which I would not be able to comment about, my lady.
How does it work? And I'll take you to photo 175 later on. How does it work when you're at the scene and you see an exhibit? How does the collection work of that exhibit and the preservation?
My lady, that's a very wide question, but in general, certainly in my instance, if I'm in control of the crime scene and there's exhibits that need to be collected, obviously they will be photographed in situ, etc., etc. And to cut the long story short, it will be sealed in a evidence sealing bag if we have access to a large enough. In this case, it would have been difficult to put it in an evidence sealing bag, but there's other ways to seal it. And then it would be recorded. The numbers of the evidence sealing bags is recorded in order to prove chain of custody.
You see there's, for instance, now photo 175. What is it that you see there?
My lady, in this photograph, it's the entrance to the bathroom of Mr. Pistorius. And in this photograph, in the center of the photograph, I see a piece of wood, which I would say is the little piece on the furthest to the right in the door. And then some other small pieces, and then I see against the bathroom, against the wall of the bathtub, there's a plank there, and it's I suspect that it's the middle part of the panel that we see there. Obviously, there's a 9mm cartridge there that I see on the left against the wall. There's some, it looks like towels or something that's full of blood. There's a it looks like a vanity case or a vanity bag. And some blood spatten or blood remarks on the floor, my lady. Is there anything specific to refer to?
I've looked at the standing orders of the police in relation to crime scenes, so to speak, and in relation to an inventory. Can you assist us there? How does it work with the inventory?
Is it the inventory on the crime scene? Obviously,
the exhibits collected.
The exhibits collected must be recorded so that one knows what is collected from the scene, what was found on the scene, what was marked out on the scene, and obviously the person collecting it will have a specific reason why he collected those specific evidence.
Because we tried to get a copy of that inventory. Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it, my lady.
Have you ever asked for it?
No, I did not ask for it. It was not relevant to my investigation.
But I think it was to some extent relevant to see what exhibits were on the scene and how it would relate to the door. In that respect.
Well, maybe you can pull it through or argue that, my lady, but for the purpose of my investigation, trying to look at the marks on the door, see whether the cricket bat could have caused the marks on the door. In that respect, I did not require the complete inventory of what was collected on the scene.
For me to understand, Colonel, I tell you why I put it in this way. When you said that you wanted to look at some of the photos, that would be the photos of the 8th of March.
Yes, my lady.
And what I'm trying to avoid is to, on screen, go through photos, and some of them would not be necessary to show them in open court. Would it be possible, I see it's close to the adjournment time, that during the break that you go through those photos, that you can bring it to my attention tomorrow morning, which photos are those that you believe can assist you in the answers and in the questions asked?
Which questions? The questions that we've already dealt with.
That's
my
right, on the way you say that you wanted to see those photos. All I'm asking is it possible for you after the adjournment to look at these photos, that we don't have to run through all the photos on the screen and maybe look at photos not necessarily for present purposes?
I will do so, my lady.
And let me ask you this before we adjourn. Your experience in door marks on wood, on doors, and the cases that you've done, and could you bring that with please tomorrow? Because I know in forensics that you have files and you keep the files so that we can look at that.
My lady, maybe I can, just to clarify that point, say that there is no specific training file for comparing cricket bat marks on a wooden door. So it's not, I think it's, in that instance, there's not going to be a document like that. And the investigation of this door must be seen in the light of us doing a variety of different investigations in the section where I'm working. And it's not a routine type of investigation. So sometimes one needs to apply your scientific background, your scientific knowledge to the exhibits and come to a conclusion with that in mind. So I can assure you there's no specific document that will give anyone information on the investigation of cricket bat marks on the door.
I understand that, but I've already asked you, and you answered the question whether you were or were at the time a certified tool mark expert. Do you remember that? Examiner.
That's correct.
Okay, I gotta run. Let me quickly set up the redirect to Recovery Addict. I will catch you guys in chat there. I've got to head over to my mom. Someone's picking something up from Facebook Marketplace. So I'm going to go right from there. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you either later or tomorrow. Not sure. Got to be quick. Bye.